it's just like bad to not know your POI. So you just like, if you want to land a spot, you should just go there and just like learn the whole spot before you start landing there in tournaments and scrims.
It's hard, but if you put enough time, you'll find that spot.
The main aspect for me to pick up POI is it being edge spot and being a good spot.
I think it's very important to know the ins and outs of a POI. If you want to land somewhere, especially competitively, it's important that you know where you can get the fastest mats and the quickest loot.
Ammo boxes, coolers, floor spawns, all of that, you gotta know.
Landing highly contested POI is definitely good if you know how to fight it properly. POIs are usually the spots with the most loot, so landing there can be good for you since you have a high chance to get shockwave hammer and get insane loot. But landing a split is sometimes the safe option.
I think it's important that you go somewhere that you think you're gonna be able to claim, so you would get uncon in a grand finals.
Uncon will always be better than con. However, if you're playing opens and you're playing thing, don't avoid being con because it's just free elims.
My favorite POIs to drop at the moment is probably like Anvil Square for Arena, because there's just a lot of people and like good loot to just fight with in Arena.
I'm landing south of Frenzy. I'm going there because you get cap metal and we get like, if we're uncon, we get like 12 to 18 chugs, which is really good.
So currently I'm dropping at the split drop. There are some chests, not so much contested.
I think you can change your drop spot and change your plan if it makes sense.
Yeah, it is sometimes worth it to change your drop spot mid-tournament if you find that a spot is very con and you find something that's very under contested.
So aspiring professional players, when choosing your drop spot, you should look at the drop spot in depth and think if you can play it good.
I think positioning of the spot is like the main thing you should worry about. But after that, I think cooler spawns are really nice and hollow chest spawns are really nice.
I always have a like plan B spot that is a bit more uncontested. So like if we've used a lot of games up, we have another spot where we can land where we know that there's not a lot of other people landing there.
Are you good at fighting? Are you good at spawn? If yes, then just go con a good spot so that the times that you win, you'll have good loot.
You've got to be sharp tonight if you want to make it happen. With EU coming in hot, these next 6 games will make it or break it for many of these teams, and they're not giving up. Scram and Trippin will find themselves in tonight's lobby, and they want to secure their last series points to guarantee a spot in the grand finals. Former FNCS champion Vidil and his duo Noah Riley are also on the brink of the leaderboard. Currently still missing a few more points to skip Surgery. Can they make it happen? Another team finding themselves trying to secure their very last but crucial points will be Frey and Clown, a duo that had a rough week too and is now ready to prove themselves worthy of the EU Grand Finals this season. With their eyes on the prize and the lobby not to be played around with, they want it more than ever. They have to make it happen. The EU FNCS Week 3 Finals starts now.
Oh yeah, we are back at it again. Welcome back, Fortnite fam, to the FNCS. Yesterday, we watched NA East bring the heat, and now EU, we're looking at you. We want to see some amazing games, some highs, some lows. I mean, there's so many duos that for today, it is critical that they perform well, right? Some of them are thinking, if we don't perform well, our FNCS is done. We got to look forward to Major 2 now. Others are thinking, we just got to make the Surge Week. Others are saying, no, we're going to secure that spot in Grand Finals. Much to talk about today, but first, let's introduce your analyst. It's, of course, none other than Mini Miner and the best taco.
We got that. You've been at the gym. She's strong.
Wow.
I respect it.
Wow. That was
a little bit more than before.
Yeah, quite
trying to match up. You know.
Oh, okay. All right, friends. Welcome to the show. Here we are, EU once again, week number 3. There's a lot of pressure here. We saw it in NA East. Now we're here to relive it in EU. How are you guys feeling coming into today?
Couldn't be more excited, especially given the fact that we're looking at about 21 teams in particular that are trying to secure their position in that top 40 to try and avoid Surge Week. And of course, with the level of competition that EU always brings, I'm sure it'll be exciting.
Yeah, lots of teams that are vying to get into those grand finals today. Of course, some teams that are just trying to keep in the competition themselves, trying to make their way into Surge Week. So many storylines to follow today, and we'll pick up on some of those later. I'm excited.
Yeah, there's a ton to discuss. I'm telling you, today is going to be wild. Let's just get right into it. Let's take a look at our series point leaderboard. So, in case you didn't know, right now we've been playing for 3 weeks. This will be week 3, and duos are looking to find themselves at the top of this list, the series point leaderboard. The top 40 will go straight through to grand finals. However, 41st through 91st, they are looking to go to Surge Week. Everyone below 91st, their run will be ended. So we have to kind of take a look right here. These duos are looking to break into that top 40, aren't they?
Yeah, that's the threshold. So to make it into grand finals, top 40 is where you need to be. Of course, top 90 is where you need to get into for that Surge Week qualification. But top 40 is really where these teams are fighting for. Of course, we're seeing Scram and Trippin in 66 there. Of course, that's without the place, the points from today. Of course, the minimum points they're going to get is, of course, 50th. But they've been doing pretty good so far this season. It hasn't quite been their best, they take it.
I will say that leading into this week, at least, they had a fantastic day 1 for quals. Yeah. I believe 7 out of 9 of those matches that they played were just a phenomenal performance. They managed to come top 15, and the only one that was really outside was a 14th place finish in game 4. But I think that momentum swing is really what it's all about, especially when you know that you're right there on the cusp of maintaining top 40.
Yeah, and this season has been amazing for them. For 2 players of their quality, it hasn't been quite the best season, but the FNCS, they've almost sort of turned it on a little bit. They've sort of turned up really, really well. I love that picture from Scram, by the way. That's amazing. But no, this is a fantastic duo, and they've, of course, landing in the center of the map, and they're doing really, really well there so far. In week number 1, they qualified. They did really, really well off spawn. They went down twice, of course, 50th place, almost completely last in those games. But in the games they do make it off spawn, they're looking really, really strong.
And that's the main thing, is that when it comes to hitches and ditches, you don't want to really have to be concerned about looking for that 50% loot contest initially. So I think this week will be great for them since they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, for sure. Another duo. Let's come back to the series point leaderboard. We're looking at you guys in 77th place. Right here, Janice and Reason. I feel like for most of us veteran EU watchers, wait, what, Janice? You're not already in top 10? What are you doing here?
It's crazy, right? Of course, Janice, the Chapter 3 Season 3 FNCS champion alongside Vidil, playing with Reason right now. They, again, haven't had the best season either. When I've been watching some of their games, they've kind of struggled to stay together. They've kind of struggled to stay consistent as a duo. And there's been a lot of solo clutch situations where, especially in the qualifiers as of yesterday, or as of Friday, sorry, I mean, Janice had this crazy solo clutch, got himself 12 eliminations. Without that solo clutch from 7th zone, they wouldn't even be here today. So it's all about solos for this duo. If they can turn it on today and play as a duo, I'm sure they'll find some success.
And that's the thing too, is when you see players like Giannis, who are a lot more infamous for their IGLing capabilities, actually step it up into those solo clutch instances, that's exactly what you would expect from someone who has FNCS title wins in solos, duos, and trios.
Yeah, he's so experienced, and I'm hoping that they're going to bring all that experience out today, because I believe they need a 31st, potentially a 21st today to do well. So it's in that sort of region. They need to do solid today. They need to break into that grind finals, because that is where they belong.
That's right. Another duo. Noah Riley and Vidil. Once again, names that you longtime fans are thinking, oh, I'm sorry, who did you say? May not even get to Surge Week? Are you crazy, Zeke? I'm so sorry. I didn't want to be the bearer of bad news, but they have to perform well today. They have to.
Yeah, they do. And again, you mentioned it, Zeke. 2 players of their caliber shouldn't be in this position realistically, but it hasn't been a great season for them overall. Pretty poor overall so far. They did win the first tournament of the season, the Performance Evaluation Cup, but since then, they've kind of been on a bit of a downward trend. But hopefully they can pick it up today.
It's definitely been a bit of a doozy ever since the initial split from Vidil and Giannis into Vidil and Noah Riley. And I think part of the issue just lies within the fact that these are 2 very strong fraggers within their own rights. I mean, in previous duos, they boasted 65% and 60% eliminations out of their respective teams. So watching them combine, I think all I really want to see for them is just decision-making and commitment to that mid to late game decision-making.
Yeah, not having the IGL really does cause them a few issues. I mean, Noah Riley used to get away with it. He used to be so far advanced to the rest of the competition. Mechanically, he was incredible. Fighting ability, second to none. But now a lot of the other players have kind of caught up, so he's less likely, less able to get away with being a little bit more flamboyant with his eliminations, because they have to stick together. And today, they have to stick to a game plan if they want to qualify.
And I think you guys touched on the IGL issue. If one of these duos, or one of these 2 had to be an IGL, which one might be better for that?
It's tough because they are both great fighters. So it's like if you specify one of them as an IGL, it would kind of be one of those situations where you're kind of taking away some of their power. But for me, I say Vidil could definitely have the voice for it. It just depends on the dynamic between the 2.
All right. Well, guess what? You saw an amazing picture of the first duo we talked about. We have one of those members right here, right now for an interview. Scram, what is going on? You look amazing as always. How you doing, man?
Thank you, man. I'm doing good. I'm excited to play.
That's great to hear. So talk to us about what's your mindset right now? You know, you have 6 games here. You guys know you have to have a good day. What's the mindset for you guys right now?
I think it's just, we just lock in, we just do our thing, follow our game plan, and then, yeah, just do our best.
Looking pretty fresh in the jersey, warming up for
Appreciate
today.
it.
But I wanted to ask, is there any sort of like pre-game ritual that you feel like you need to go through whenever it's play days?
Pre-game rituals, that's a good question. I mean, I don't have any specific ones. I usually just take a cold shower every day, and I warm up for tourneys, like always. I always do my specific warm-up, like doing 200 only and arena and stuff. So yeah, I mean, that's probably it.
Cold shower, what a brave guy. Now, of course, you've been doing with Trippin all season. How do you manage it when things aren't quite going your way? When you're not quite performing at the level you want to, how do you manage that? How do you keep the vibes high?
I think it's a lot about having solid, healthy communication.
Yeah.
If things go bad, you need to be able to talk about it. Even when things are good, you talk about it. When things are bad, you talk about it. So I think just addressing when it's bad is a solid way of keeping your head high.
Yeah, and right now it seems like Surge is an issue for a lot of duos coming into Chapter 4. Do you maybe have like any tidbits you're willing to share about how maybe duos can look to attack this issue?
As for Surge, I'd suggest picking up the red eye assault rifle and positioning you on elevated positions. I guess that's all I can say.
Yeah, hey, it's okay. Keep some of the secrets for yourself. That's all good. Scram, for all the fans out there who might be like, whoa, Scram, I want to follow this guy. Where can we find you?
You can find me on ScramFN on Twitter and Instagram, and Scram on Twitch.
Thank you so much. Best of luck in today's games. We look forward to seeing you guys perform. We'll catch up with you a little later on. Scram, just an absolutely phenomenal individual. Love to hear from him. Now, we do want to shift topics a little bit because we have more to discuss. So let's come this way. Let's talk about high ground. All right, what does that look like coming to Chapter 4? The first week of the FNCS, it really wasn't. It was kind of like high ground. Whatever. Week 2, people started to kind of come back to it. High ground Is that going to be what we need to win games? And yesterday in the East, we saw that very prevalent. High ground is where teams wanted to be if they wanted to win.
Yeah, we did. I actually looked in the dictionary this morning. The definition of high ground, Queasy, came up, actually. So that is the definition of high ground. Of course, he is the high ground king on this region, and he has the stats to back it up as well, Taco.
Yeah, I mean, you can look and see 17 FNCS Victory Royales, and kind of adding on to that, out of the past 8 finals that he has participated in, he's managed to gather Victory Royales in each of those. So an 8 final streak is pretty phenomenal.
What I find most interesting about that, he's played it with different teammates as well. It's not just being the Queasy Veno. Of course, he's played with Hen as well in the past, and even all the way back in Chaps 2 Season 6, they won FNCS in trios. So this guy can do it all, and I'm expecting no less of the same today.
Yeah, for sure. So let's take a deep dive into this duo specifically, right? What are they doing, and how are they finding success in that high ground?
Well, for starters, a lot of their POI is already based around elevation since they are so far north located on the map. But in particular, I love the way that they tend to utilize the Bush Warrior augment. Whenever they're actually playing up on high ground, they're able to actually just focus on maintaining their resources. They don't have to expend their heals when they're looking for those surge tags. And Queasy here just continuously building up, trying to get as much elevation as possible so we can have a total view. And you can see the red eye in particular. Scram just talked about it, but it's so important for these players when grabbing those surge tags.
Yeah, both of them have red eyes in this situation, which is absolutely vital for them to pick up as many tags as they possibly can. But what I really liked here, when they got their Storm Surge down, when they got that damage done, Queasy actually saved the Mythic Munitions Augment and was able to drop the Mythic Pistol down to Veno, which is a really interesting stat and sort of play style they like to use, because of course they can then apply that pressure later on in the game. They actually play a little bit of low ground as well in that half and half zone, but when it gets to first moving, it's all systems go. It's high ground take time.
And part of the reason why you see Queasy dropping the Mythic Pistol for somebody like Veno is because it is known that Veno is such a historic fragger. Queasy here maintaining the high ground play, that way he can keep an overall view of everybody that's looking to challenge. But Veno in particular, the split responsibility of this duo and the fact that he's the one typically playing those lower layers so that he can grab those refreshes, grab those resources to keep them up high.
Yeah, Queasy's just doing a great job. It's just staying connected as well. Stay up on that high ground, especially this season with all those hammers going on down below. You have to stay connected.
Okay, so we know that these guys basically set the tempo, right? They go into a lobby, they're the ones alive, they're the ones on high ground. When they're not alive, though, and they've been sent back to lobby, what can we expect out of the lobby itself?
Yeah, the landscape of the lobby looks drastically different. When we don't see Queasy and Veno in the game, it looks like there's almost no high ground team. And a few seasons back even, we had 5 or 6 high ground teams that you could say, okay, this team could take height, this team could take height, but Queasy Veno are just dominating. And look at this from Kyrie, takes the high ground front side, takes out Seti right there, or hits a big shot onto him, and enabled them to take that high ground themselves.
But you'll notice, typically, by the time it gets to 6th zone, Queasy and Veno, they've already established height, but here, it's a lot more up in the air. Falcon, Tayson, and Mustache are actually able to contest Ping and Kyrie for that. Granted, they end up getting shaken out eventually from the builds getting destroyed by Albie and Ludwig from underneath, but it's just the fact that it keeps constantly changing. There is no consistency in terms of high ground play, and that's just the kind of control that Queasy and Veno tend to have.
Yeah, and that just shows how good Queasy and Veno are at getting those refreshes, right? Because they're able to stay on high ground right the way through the rest of the game, whereas these teams were a little bit less experienced on the high ground. They're not able to pick up as many refreshes and ultimately do run out of steam, run out of mats, and fall down a little bit earlier. But Queasy Veno, that never happens to them.
That's right. We'll have to see if the duo can remain alive here in these lobbies, because of course, if they are alive, they get to kind of dictate what everyone else gets to do, right? They can even push someone out of qualifying range.
Yeah.
So some of these duos better be ready. There it is. Sorry, my brain does crazy things. Better be ready to contest them. But hey, guess what? We got 2 casters who are going to help call all of the action here in EU. It's none other than Jacob PR and Levin2K.
Certified?
Oh my goodness.
About 6'2".
Yep. There it is.
I knew it.
Say that's fair.
And
That's
it's
fair.
true because you use a tape measure, so
Yeah,
no way it can be wrong. Wow. Well, welcome to the day. 6'2", 10 foot. That's crazy. It's great to see you guys. Here we are, week number 3, a last chance. Last ditch effort for some duos. How are you guys feeling? How's the pressure looking?
I'm excited because, like you guys so perfectly highlighted, there are a lot of big names who have to step up, right? A lot of players who have plenty of experience making it to FNCS finals. Yep. First major of the year, you can't afford to miss that, right? You want to be in that conversation, so I want to see the best performance.
For myself, starting on the other side of the pond, NA side of things, I'm now a firm believer in EU. The calculated aggression is what I'm really looking forward to. And I like that breakdown because they're constantly changing. They're constantly adapting depending on who they're going against and who's left in the lobby.
That's right. We're about to see some crazy Fortnite action. Remember, we have 6 games ahead of us, so you know what time it is. You got to find your seat on that battle bus. That's right. It's game time here in EU, so let's run it.
The beginning of the end for many of these teams. It has been a fun 3 weeks of qualifiers, but today is the day for the teams to solidify their place in this.
Yeah, with over 20 teams still fighting for their chance, their place at the Axe of Champions, it's going to be a huge battlefield for all these players to kind of traverse through. It's not going to be an easy feat for the next 6 games.
Yeah, and of course, right, like you highlighted, with so many different teams, with so many different stakes, it just becomes so interesting, the dynamics all around the lobby, from where teams actually land. Are they actually going to commit to the places they're saying they're going to land? We get to find out right now, because the battle bus is ready. The players are locked and loaded, ready to go. Questions all around the board, Jacob, here, of who is going to set the tempo in game 1.
Yeah, it's not only about the qualification to the FNCS Grand Finals, that series point leaderboard adding up to give you that spot, but it's about defending your POI. We've seen it yesterday, and I expect nothing different coming down to this. And already you see an off-spawn exchange. Ark and T'Challa, Revis and Krusty. You can see a little bit of a split drop, but you know the inevitable is going to happen. With not enough loot to go around, you got to think whoever has the best of the two is going to start to play aggressive, and you can already see them trying to get that mismatch, a 2v1 situation for just a few seconds, and already you're seeing the difference it's making. But no, T'Challa's able to get the down onto one. Krusty gets the finish onto the other, and there goes the back-to-back coming out from Ark to save the day when it mattered most.
And all the props have to go to T'Challa there. He got 2v1 and still was able to come out on top. Really well done from him. That's the kind of composure you want to see from teams and players in these lobbies. I don't know what's going on here. It's a bit of a messy one, but Clement, seeming like he has what it takes to deal with it in that moment. Does he know Hardfine's there? No, he doesn't. And he walks right into his sights. Mighty Pelican and Hardfine, they look like they're going to pick this up. They will. The Frenchmen are no match for them here in game 1.
Yep, and that's a great start for Hardfine and Pelican. They're one of the teams, the 20 or so that we spoke about, that needs to have a great day to secure their spot. As Jubot and Beerus trying to claim South Slappy Shores, but there's still Vico there, that lone warrior trying to defend his POI, push everybody out. We know how aggressive he can be, trying to turn, trying to burn, but ends up with nothing, only a knock on a Beerus.
Yeah, and when it comes to Kylie and Vico, they actually said they weren't going to land south of Slappy, but I think many people in the community knew that that was not going to be the case. They want to do what they can today to try and force those guys to not land south of Slappy. And here in game 1, not the best of starts in terms of that at all. If anything, they're going to encourage them to keep going there if they keep going down or spawn like that.
Yep, you can already see Joker and Perhawa 1v1, and already both of them are going to disengage away from one another, leaving Joker the lay of the land. But it's all about making sure that you can get those reboot cards, get your teammate back into the game to have the best showing that you can on the day. Merstash and Tayson from South Slappy to North, they're kind of gathering that information, the intel, which we know is important. Do they push? Do they not? And for them, they realize the fight is done and over with, so now they're trying to figure out who are those players that remain and where are they at.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what takes place at Slappy. It's been the scene for plenty of entertainment all season long. It won't disappoint today for Glubsheet and JJ2. They're going to just be a bit more patient in their approach here in this fight. No need to kick up a fuss and rush things. There are players down below. It's going to be a moneymaker that they have to deal with, but back into the action for Strokey and Hydra. Big shot there from Strokey. And this guy is an absolute animal. Unfortunately, can't handle the two of them. And so down to a 1v1 now.
Yep. Khan just trying to go into the bush and trying to get that refresh. That extra bit of loot means so much in a battle that started this early on. And now he knows he's trying to stay hot on the heels. Doesn't want to give up the time for Hydro to try to get that siphon onto Pena. That would be such a big help for him. And you can see he doesn't even want to give him the moment to pop the mini directly into the box. Gets the elimination and is able to get the revive onto his down teammate.
I love when players play like that. When you back yourself and your ability to hit the shot in the box and you just force your way on in. That kind of confidence, that kind of arrogance even. It's such a delight to see.
That's going to be a heavy hitter late in the game. I'm not getting in that box, let me tell you that much. And this is a team, they already secured their spot. They're playing for that extra bit of practice. And for them, with a little bit of a shaky start to FNCS, we know how great they were in those early Elite Cups, but the FNCS itself, they're just trying to go ahead and push themselves over the top. That extra bit means so much. For Queasy and Vino, probably the same.
Yeah, look, Queasy and Vino, obviously they had a brilliant week last time round. I think the key factor in that was obviously week 2 was the North Zone Central. Literally as many zones as Queasy's ever received in his whole Fortnite career, all in just the 1 week. So I wasn't surprised to see how well they did. I don't think that streak is going to continue this time round, but they don't need it because they are top players and they will always perform at a high level.
And this is when we already seen tuning back in. A prolonged exchange between the two teams, but a third one has now shown up into the mix. And for JJ2 and Glubsheet, you're still in a position to kind of survey the land, try to get some surge tags. And as soon as you hear this fight break out down low, this could be your opportunity to try to take advantage, pounce from above, and really play janitor and clean it all up.
Well, yeah, you know, when we were here a couple moments ago, obviously it was just the 2 teams. Right now there's 3 teams and maybe even a 4th team going to get involved at some point with just how long this one is taking.
Well, there goes that extra team you're talking about in the mini-map.
Who's going to make the move though, right? Because somebody has to make a move at some point, you'd think. Or is it going to be a matter of somebody making a mistake? I think they hear Moneymaker and Brantman sort of breaking things about, and so they think there's an opportunity here to capitalize. And just on the other side of this wall, there could be a shot that can be lined up, but no, he's too aware of it. And Moneymaker now needs to catch up though, because his teammate is the left sort of cut off from him all alone in a 2v1. But no, Moneymaker will wrap around and group together. Now 2 shotguns are always going to be better than the 1.
They got to be careful here in a situation like that. They get separated for just a few seconds, but that's all a team needs to try to put some damage on. They got to be careful as well. Add on to the fact that they were the third party. Now they end up the team in the direct fight, which kind of gives JJ2 and Glubsheet the opportunity to be that thorn in the side and kind of play buster to what's going on here, as it does look like a little disengage is happening. Everybody trying to rotate. Talk about zones. It's going to be on the eastern side this time around. Whether it pulls north or south, only time will tell.
It's good you mentioned JJ2 and Glubsheet. I almost forgot about them with just how quiet they were above. Queasy already has 2 in this game. And we'll see exactly how he was able to pick up at least one of them. See here, just building up, lining up the shot. Making it look easy onto Dan and Naker. Wow. Nicely executed there from Queasy. When he's feeling this shot, it's a scary sight because we know his teammate Reno is always going to be a powerhouse, but if Queasy is in some rhythm, and they are scary, scary duo.
One that you don't want to let get ramped up early. They already got some of their surge to elimination so far, and for them, it's just rotating, getting that perfect position. You can see they're not going straight to zone. They're going to where they think the slower, less contested side of the map is going to be at, just like Refsguard and Hellfire. They got some traveling to do, but they're separated right now just so they can gather up all the surge, so then they can make that rotation in the mid game, and they can focus just on that.
To Cammy and say, how can we not talk about these 2 top players indeed? But speaking of top players, or maybe former top players, we have the one and only Vivid here on the sideline with a quick update. Vivid, what's going on?
Yeah, let's take a quick look at one of EU's favorite right here, Malabuke and Thomas HD. Now, something that we've seen a lot throughout this weekend is a lot of these teams kind of riding the edge of that first zone to wait for a lot of these rotating teams to get their surge, but something a little out of the ordinary, not actually carrying a red eye here, opting for an Excalibur rifle. So we'll have to see if that infamous Thomas HD sniping ability comes out here with that. And then, of course, backing up with that close range gold thunder shotgun, a lot can happen between this duo.
And of course, we're going to have Vivid with us in the next couple of games to keep filling us in with updates just like that one. Here with O'Reilly and Vidil, the Germans who are looking to try and pick up for lost time. A very tough day on their hands, right? There's going to be a lot of pressure on them in that sense.
I like this right here because Grohl is Fire Hunter. They've tasted the top of the leaderboard in the beginning of a couple of these finals weeks, and now you can see what they do on the other end with their backs up against the wall. A third team rotating nearby. It looks like they could try to play gatekeepers as Grohl gets that piece control. Fire Hunter on another angle. It continues to go their way for now, but knowing when to pick and choose, not biting off more than they could chew in a situation like this, but with no HP heals, they're going to have to figure out if they're going to continue to fight this or disengage altogether.
Yeah, and with the way these 2 like to play, they're going to need a lot more than what they have, right? Very explosive duo in the latter stages of the game. But their sort of playstyle requires them to have a lot more by way of mats and certainly by shields. And so how they actually get themselves back into this one will be very important to watch out for. Of course, those sort of heals there will allow them to just stay a bit in the zone and get themselves back up to full capacity when the time comes. But Janice and Reason, though, definitely not the kind of team that we'd have expected to see them have the kind of season they've had. But again, like we've said many times already today, this is their last chance to make up for that.
When your back's up against the wall, sometimes you just perform to a standard that you're used to. Trulex and Chicho trying to rotate to the southern portion of the map, going all the way eastern from there. You can kind of see where it is congested at as this one continues to pull towards the east side. A lot of those teams are going to stack up on that side of the zone that you mentioned. And for Trulex and Chicho, they're going to have to make that decision. Do you keep going south? Do you keep riding the zone? Try to go all the way to the eastern portion of the map, which could be a huge success, but depending on that surge, it might not be a possibility for them. Who knows?
For Direks and Mappy, though, they are already towards that south side of the zone, heading up towards the east. And another duo that I think when it comes to the latter stage of the game, they've shown how explosive and how fiery they can be. And they are looking a lot better, right, in terms of just the actual setup and the loadouts. Plenty of shields there to work with. The maps aren't looking too bad on Diox. So we'll see what this game turns into. Of course, need to be careful there, Mappy. Mappy just sort of standing out in the open. Thought he had a good opportunity for Surge on a team ahead of him. But it was Handelex and Snazy over towards their left-hand side that caught him out.
It's another team playing a little contested this time around. But some people kind of looked at it as a blessing to get that early surge. It's Malabuka and Thomas high in the sky, trying to put that damage down. 400 above the damage threshold, trying to build themselves a layer of comfortability, not only for this position here, but for the next zone as well, because we know Storm Surge, it's one of those things that is always looming in the back of players' minds. Everybody playing passive, especially in this first game. 77 players alive, and you can already see how it's affecting the lobby. But the players that are down on Surge are going to have to look to get aggressive on a player, try to get into the box, and get that elimination. Otherwise, they're just going to go down to Surge altogether.
Yeah, and we got Albi here on our screens. They were so exhilarating to watch last week. In week 2, they were one of the better teams throughout that session. And of course, going to be one of the teams to watch out for today. Interesting to see. I wonder why Albi has a sign on the wall that says Pablo Wingu. No idea why. That's a bit odd. Well, either way, for Albi, we'll see whether or not he can keep on hitting shots from above here. You see Ludwig a bit down and Albi sitting elevated. In the case of Hardfine and Mighty Pelican, they're both sitting up here and both looking to try hit some shots. Of course, using this bush for cover as well.
We've seen them break it down. Something Queasy and Vino are known for. Honestly, everybody that has the opportunity to find a big bush bomb, maybe combine that with the Bush Warrior augment. It's free shields, it's free heals, free trades for that surge tags. Only thing that worries me right now is Hardfind is he has an empty inventory slot and he's very low on medium ammo, so possibly looking for a refresh. But as we join in on the JJ2, he's losing Glubshy along the way, but looks like he struck himself 1v1 against Brand. Is he going to continue this one as he gets dropped down in the box, trying to attack before the shield keg really makes that much of a difference?
Yeah, and of course, just being able to secure Moneymaker there is nice. You know he wants more than that, though, just from the way he was playing it. A bit of that revenge factor coming in. But just the loot from Moneymaker alone is going to be nice, but not if he isn't even able to keep it with the way Bratman's playing. And a nice shot there just to force JJ2 back a bit more. The pressure is really on for him, back against the wall. His pieces are being taken and a savior from afar. Because JJ2 now will be able to create some space and get himself away. Brant being forced to heal.
Could be a good opportunity, like you said, for JJ to continue to disengage, but by him staying here just a little too long, it makes me wonder if he even has the reboot card, but does that even matter with how far this game is going along and how smushed everybody's getting zone after zone? He might not even get a chance to make that one a possibility as you jump on board Scram, who's suffering a sword surge, lands a huge shot, trying to get to the box. He loses Tripper along the way. Now it's up to him as a solo with a few heals on his back. You can see the disengage coming through. He's trying to drop down low. Does he have enough surge, or is he going to have to go right back to the scene and try to pick up even more?
Yeah, and of course we spoke to Scram at the start of the day, and so we know how much it is for him in terms of being able to stay focused, stay in rhythm. This is certainly something that knocks you out of that. But either way, he's going to have to keep going here as a solo. And he isn't playing too scared, right? He is going to look to take the fight to Hardfind and Mighty Pelican if he can, if they will allow for it. Not too far away from them. Well, I don't even know if that would be the wise option. Of course, he does have a journey to make it to the safe zone when the time comes. And they're even going to start to make their way there now. So Scram being forced to just focus on that while Hardfire and Mighty Pelican make their way to zone after their conquest of Trippin.
And for a lot of these teams, it's now or never in terms of that reboot and getting your team back. Third zone already moving in. Soon we're going to see the fourth. And that opportunity is going to go right out the window as Frey is trying to find the surge necessarily, barely getting above, but he knows his job is not done yet. Continues to peek, look around. Got to think Clownsky is doing the same thing. But the thing is, as later this one goes, the less chance people are peeking to give up that opportunity for surge.
Banyak and Kami, they're going to use that Shockwave Hammer just to move themselves into zone. A couple of teams that they can rotate behind. They're going to take some shots there onto Hellfire and Refsguard. I don't think they will realize Scram's in the bush right next to them, but there's more important things right now as there are players already in that zone holding them by the bridge. And so looking to line up another Shockwave Hammer just to bring that ever closer to that position. For Scram though, can he sneak up here on Vortex? He can. A big shot there from Scram. Those are the kind of plays you like to see him make. But Lucy now thinking, hold on a minute, how's this happened?
That was a huge find for Scram. Playing patient.
He's not done. He's not done yet.
That's his box. Whew. Great opportunity. Finds Slap Juice just in the nick of time, but a huge tag from Belusi. Looks like it's backfiring. All that loot, all the resources being used up as well. This is a nightmare.
Yeah, Scram got tagged up a bit too hard there by Belusi, and so tried to use an impulse grenade to get into zone and got punished. And it looks like the exact same fate for Belusi. Both players staying in the storm just that bit too long, and everybody waiting in the zone was looking at them, taking them out. Podesai and Sweeze aren't in too congested of an area, and so when the time does come for them to get to zone, it shouldn't be as difficult as what we just saw there from Belusi. But doesn't mean it'll be easy either.
It's not going to be easy for everybody, anybody in a situation like this, but Podesai and Sweeze, they have been performing well, at least in the last week. It's all about that consistency to kind of hold on to a top spot, if they can even grab it. This one is first game of the day. Thomas losing Malabuka somewhere along this journey. But he's one of those players where he's dangerous as a part of a duo, and he's just as dangerous as a solo. The only thing that kind of worries me is the lack of mobility, the lack of the Shockwave Hammer. So if he gets focused out, spotted out as a solo, you'll probably see the lobby turn and try to take him out right away, especially a player this dangerous. Ooh.
Yeah, right
Looking
now,
for anything.
Thomas is the protagonist in this lobby on a special mission as a lone operative. Absolutely geared out, right? And so he has the means to stay in this game for a lot longer and be a threat. But will he be able to survive this mission? For Mustache and Tayson, very much looking forward to seeing them again this week. We're looking much, much better last week. A big part of that because of the extra effort they put into preparation, and that was certainly paying off.
See Vino and Queasy, a little bit of low ground right next to him as well. And you can kind of tell that Jelly Angler Augment is going to pay off as they continue to trade for tags, but a team that is really fighting for everything in this next 6 games is the deal. No O'Reilly, 2 powerhouse individual players who just haven't found that mix of how they want to play, but we know they can pop off once they make it to this end game, 5th, 6th moving zone. That's when I kind of predict them to have that pop-off performance if they can just make it there. That is going to be the key. 464 above the damage threshold. They don't have to peak. They don't have to risk anything in this situation. So it's perfect for them.
Trulex and Chisho, one of the teams who maybe will be looking to do a bit more damage, and the opportunity is definitely here. You see so many players in the lobby right now just spraying towards that area. So if they can sneak in a couple of their own shots there, pick up some cheeky damage, 47 tag there ain't too bad. We'll get them just a bit further above that threshold. But Mustache and Tayson are down below on Surge, and it's not the first time we've seen them in this situation. And so we'll see what they are able to cook up right now. They're going to have to look to get in. That's the only play they can make, and unfortunately for Mustache, it's going to be a play that you don't want to be taken against Vino. He's the one person you don't want to force a fight with in that kind of spot. And so Tayson now might face the same fate. Vino looking to sort of break his way on in, claim all of these walls, all of these pieces, and Tayson just has to stay there and fight. You can't really back off being down on Surge the way he is.
You kind of saw the zone a moment ago. They got a far pull with everybody else having to rotate on the southern portion, but in comes a couple players trying to make that the slower side of the zone, and that's where Queasy and Vino know to slow things down. That time has come and gone for them to pick up that last player as a solo. Now they have their own journey to make, and you see the launch pad being used, trying to think and use everything as efficient as possible as they float directly towards zone. Another solo opportunity here as Vino does spot him out, but he doesn't exactly know that the player's a solo just yet, so he's trying to build up, get himself off that lower layer, because you know how chaotic can be, especially in this next zone. If it pulls far, they're gonna have to go up that mountain anyway. Without a shockwave hammer, I like them thinking ahead, thinking into the future.
Yeah, making sure to play as proactively as possible. Can't predict where the zones are gonna go, and so we'll make sure you mitigate all the possible risks. T'Challa and Ark, we obviously saw T'Challa's heroics at the start of the game. We need something heroic here now. I think they're aware of all of the fuss that's taking place, but they need to be careful because Beerus will punish them if they're not. Mini's being dropped there, just trying to get their teammate back up to steam. For doing O'Reilly, rotating around that left side completely unscathed on the dead side of the zone.
Perfect pull right now for X-Squeeze and Podesai. They got that front side, and they have the options. You go right away, try to continue to hold onto that front side of the zone, stagger yourself back, try to look for some tags, some eliminations. You can see them surveying towards the high ground, and who would have guessed it? That's Queasy, that's Vino, already claimed it. Paco Marine, looks like they're gonna try to drop down low. Not a ton of resources to work with. Looking for a refresh on the robot. That one's gonna come through rather easy before they continue their rotation to the zone.
See Marine and Paco. They're going to keep on holding on to this lower layer because they don't have shockwave hammers, and so maybe the best way to play it.
There it goes. They're just going to shockwave to the front side. Take height yet again. It's like watching poetry in motion with these two, and this is where Vino's just going to go ahead, try to connect, make sure they're safe as can be. Meanwhile, Queasy has that high ground. He's surveying, gathering all the information so they know the next play that's going to be. Ludwig and Albie struggling to the backside of his own. Plenty of heals to work with so he could continue to stagger himself. Impulse grenades as well to try to get right back in, save some of those resources because he does need some shield. Otherwise, this might happen. Becomes the focus. Gets dropped down low. Now it's off to Ludwig as a solo.
Yeah, backside there of moving zone. You're always going to run into some problems. And unfortunately, he just was able to find his match. See Ludwig now running back into the zone desperately as he saw there was a player there. Unfortunately for him, though, it's going to be his demise as that player swiftly moved back into the safe zone. That's going to be the end of his game. Vanyak and Kami, though, they're still alive and kicking, but he needs to kick a bit harder. They're not working with much by way of HP or materials.
Podesai and X-Squeeze trying to go up and over, stay to the front side of the zone. Seti and Cammy made their appearance. This is where they usually shine bright like a shining star as Vanyak trying to put the pressure on Epanye towards the backside of zone. That's where you don't want to get stuck between a rock and a hard place. Doesn't matter if we have a shockwave hammer because now it's Vanyak's to use for the rest of this game.
Vanyak is doing wonders right now. 5 already in this game and another is on the way. A big couple of shots being hit there. Needed a bit of support at the end just to confirm things from Kami. But nevertheless, this team is on a roll right now. And there are still players on this layer that they can punish. Hardfine doesn't have Mighty Pelican, but he does have a shotgun, and he will hit some big shots. Big 126 there. Can he close things out? No. He's going to fall at the hands of the Germans. Vino and Queasy still up on a height, though. Still looking good.
Yeah, even if he chops down low, that's just a momentary thing, because now they're just hunting the rest of the lobby out. As they see all this chaos that is below them, and they're just trying to take part in it all before go ahead and stealing that high ground away once more. Seti and Cammy are one of the defining teams that are just trying to play towards that consistent manner. Eliminations, they'll naturally present itself for a team like this as they continue to move forward, getting blocked out, shockwave hammering up and over, but we lose Seti along the way.
There's nothing natural about this. They're desperate, and that desperation sends them right back to the lobby. Vanyak and Kami, though, they're still alive, they're still moving, and they're up above. They know there are players beneath them that they can pick up some limbs on, and you see here all those players, such low HP. Podesai and Squeeze on the other side of that wood wall, only a matter of seconds away. Can they find this one onto O'Reilly and Vidil here? It looks like they're going to go for it. It's Reason actually that walks into their sights now.
It's all up to Janice now. He's going to be the last solo remaining. Vaniac takes a huge shot from above. 8 HP. Doesn't have any sort of resources to heal up if he can, but Shockwave hammering in. Knocks Vidil out. He goes down. That was a sacrifice that just didn't work out for him as Noah Riley trying to go outside of zone, trying to find elimination. He gets shut down as well. Queasy and Vino are terrorizing the lobby once more from the high ground.
Queasy and Vino sending everybody into the abyss. Nobody has what it takes to stop these guys up above. It's going to be Vexy trying to stop anything from happening, and a big shot there onto Podesai. It's going to be nice. Janice still is on this layer, but that hammer is going to send him right into the sights of Vino and Queasy. Janice going to look to see if he can drop him down. Another elimination here wouldn't be too bad for him. They've already got quite a few this game. and another would be wonderful, and he will find it. But the question is now, in a 1v2 against Queasy and Vino, is there much you can do with Vino? Not even having a single elimination, is Queasy putting in all the work right now?
That's something you don't see every day, but for them, they know how to be the jack of all trades when it comes down to it. As Janus going through the struggles that is towards the low ground, he talked about needing a big game. He's definitely secured second, trying to make the plays happen, going up and over, but it's just not enough. Queasy seals the deal.
I love this from Queasy, telling everybody in the lobby, today I feel fraggy. What a player he is, and allowing Vino to just chill, not even have to do much work. Brilliant stuff. We had the analysts hyping up their ability up on high ground, and here showcasing in game 1 to the world why exactly they are feared as one of the best teams in all of Fortnite.
Yep, Janus and Reason, you got to give them all the credit in the world. They have the pressure right now, needing a good performance on the day in order to get their spot directly into the grand finals. Reason started off with 2 solo Cash Cup victories on the day. Janus getting second place in the finals. That's where you want to start.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with what I've seen in game 1. The question will be, can Queasy and Vino continue to play at this level?
That's going to be a big question that we have answered. That's 5 games. They know it's a marathon. It's not a race. Luckily, we have some great people over on the other side, Zeke, Minnie, and Taco, to kind of lay the land down for us.
Thank you so much, my friends, fellow casters, and fellow 6-foot-tall individuals. Wow, this is why we talked about this at the beginning of the show. Queasy and Vino, we talked about the impact they have when they're on that high ground. And here they are, just doing everything we just talked about. Everything we highlighted, they're just like, oh yeah, you guys said that, we'll just do it again. We'll just
it might actually still be in the pre-show at this point.
We might actually be. I mean, yeah, if you ever want to know, is Queasy and Veno up on high ground, ask yourself, is the sky blue? Yes, it's the same answer for both instances. Now, what a performance from Queasy Veno. We saw them take high ground a little bit earlier than we talked about in the top of the show. It was kind of a little bit earlier, just on that rotation to that first moving zone, but a really, really good play from them. And what I really find interesting about the way they played this was that actually it was Veno that was actually connecting down on the builds below, which allowed Queasy on the backside of the top to pick up a few refreshes, pick up a few eliminations, and do what they do best.
I'm still in awe at the fact that even prior to taking height, we saw Veno utilize a launch pad to initially go towards the front side, to take front side of zone as it was happening, but nobody shot at him.
It's true.
He got away with, I don't even know how. There's just shots going all about, but still an incredible performance from these two. And again, we really got to see that split responsibility from them as well. Veno, I think, doing a great job at controlling those mid to low ground sections. Queasy, all the while monitoring, making sure that he's getting those connections in so they can't get chopped down.
Yeah, and that just highlights how good Veno really is, how good of a brain this guy has, because, I mean, his old name used to be Tundra IGL. He has the brain of an IGL in the body of a fragger, in the ability of a fragger. And even though Queasy was the one that took out all the eliminations there, it was Veno that was actually dictating the high ground plays. It was beautiful.
Yeah, these guys just on another level, and this is why we talk about them as being some of the very, very best. Couple names to throw your way. 5th place right now, Podesai and X-Squeeze as well. Another duo we have eyes on that need to do well today.
Yeah, we saw them sort of on those lower ground layers doing really, really well, picking up refreshes where it mattered most as well. We talked so much about high ground, but this duo have been doing really, really well on the lower ground section of things because they're able to not get chopped out with the hammers. This was a beautiful elimination on this backside of zone from Podesai, and there it was, coming through as a solo. What a performance.
Yeah, that pinch in between Noah Riley and Vidil is always going to be a tricky one to try and play through. And despite the fact that they were relatively low on builds throughout these last couple of zones, I think that Podesai just did a great job at monitoring throughout, and it's never easy looking for the solo clutch opportunities.
Yeah, we see that a lot this season as well, of course, because we have hammers in. It's so much easier for these solos to clutch out. We're not taking anything away from the solo clutch because you still have to do an incredible amount of work, but it is just that extra, a little bit easier for the players to clutch up as solos. I'm sure we'll see more today.
Yeah, for sure. Janus and Reason, once again, another duo. There's so many that today has to be that time, right, where they put up on this leaderboard. And for them to start in 2nd place, I feel like that's I mean, it's not first, but hey, second, just as good.
It's a really good start for this duo, and it's what they need, of course, to make sure that they're getting into that top 40. This is Janus in his prime. I talked about it at the beginning of the show. Janus solo clutching to get them here, but he's doing it in the finals as well. Solo clutching all the way up to 2nd place, as Levin mentioned. 1v2 against Queasy and Veno. Is it going to go well? No, but you know, it's okay, because he's managed to clutch to a second. Of course, a Reason did go down a little bit earlier. What a performance from Janus.
It's the fact that he made it to 2nd place in the 1st place, and I think it just sets them up excellently because this is the kind of momentum that you want to see for those duos that, like you just mentioned, many are trying to prevent themselves from having to play it through Surge Week entirely. And if they can maintain this, they'll definitely be good to go.
And they need a what, 21st? We worked
21st
out 21st, between 21st and 31st. So if they can keep up this momentum, they should be safe in grand finals. But I don't think we can ever use the word safe when it comes to Fortnite and when it comes to this position.
Yeah, consistency, right?
It is.
They have to continue to try and just stay here as long as possible, right? Because for them, if they make that mistake, there is other duos that are wanting to climb over them, right, to make it up in that top 10.
Yeah, one duo, of course, is Vidil and Noah Riley. These
Yes.
guys needed a big day today. I believe it was a seventh around that sort of region that they needed to get. And what a start. They're turning it on when it matters most. I really want to highlight those guys because I want to follow that storyline throughout today. Can they keep it up? Of course, we know how important the first game can be, but the rest of the five rest of them, they have to be important too.
And one thing I couldn't help but notice with Vidil and Noah Riley is that we didn't see as much of that blind aggression. We saw them playing with patience, playing with discipline, choosing to box up, assess where everyone else is actually at in the lobby before then choosing, do we try to pressure mid layer? Do we try to go for height? We know that Queasy and Vino's already up there. I like the fact that they were trying to maneuver through those mid ground. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for them, but still think that managing to work their way into that 5th place finish is definitely great for them here.
Yeah, I think for me, the takeaway, right, is like you don't even need to get the victory out. I know the victory out is amazing and it feels great, but you just have to place high and just pair with eliminations, right? It's kind of like the damage is done, right? Like you don't get the victory out, but you still play second. That's still a ton of points. Oh, I got 5 eliminations. All those things start to add up and could help your duo make that qualifying run, especially now when it matters. Game 1 was amazing. Game 2, better? Yes? No?
I'd say more or less a lot of the same. I mean, it really is going to depend on whether or not we see Queasy and Vino make it for that first moving zone, because that's really what seems to dictate the pacing of the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, they're unstoppable right now. If they're in the game, the other duos don't have a chance to take high ground, as we mentioned earlier, but hopefully for the other duos, they might fall a little bit earlier, so the door's wide open.
I know, man. It's all about Queasy and Vino right now. They're playing spoiler to everybody. So listen, lobby, you guys have to come together. You can't just let Titans walk around like this. You guys got to try and slow them down. Will you be able to? I don't know. But hey, game 2 is ready for us, so let's get back into the action.
The pressure that is being put on a lot of these teams thanks to Queasy and Vino and their high ground take game after game, moment after moment. You know what I'm thinking? Let it happen. Let it go through, because all of these players have to fight through that same thing in the finals anyway.
Yeah, look, this is a team in top form, absolute cerebral in their approach, but like Zeke said, we're back into the action. A second opportunity now for the players today to show what they can do and make the most of what is the last session to qualify for the finals or for surgery.
Yeah, this is going to be a big moment. 1 game down, 4 more to go. Every single game is one less chance to make up for that lost time. The battle bus is ready, and no more time is going to be wasted. Getting right into the game we go, Levin. And this is where these teams that if you didn't have the best off-spawn exchange to start the game, you got to make up for it. You got to start to adapt and really feel what is at stake.
Definitely are going to feel it if you're in an off-spawn battle, which we know there are plenty of. The question is, of course, in those battles is who comes out victorious. You know, Braun and Queasy have been fortunate enough to they don't have to deal with that. And they do have quite a large area of this northern side of the map to themselves. Fortunately for the Frenchies, they have not got this spot to themselves, and so Clement is now having to pick up Hardfine's teammate. He worries about whether or not he picks up the Siptos. Just on the other side of that stair, though, is where he'll find him. He needs to be careful as he gets in his face. Mighty Pelican forcing the issue now, but taking a large chunk of HP himself. Before closing things out, he picks up Clement.
That was a huge win for Mighty Pelican and Hardfine. I said it last game, I'll say it again. This is a big day for them in securing their own spot as Kylie and Vico and another off-spawn battle at Slappy Shores. And Vico this time around comes out on top, which is massive for them and their confidence going into the rest of the day. And on the other side of things, you can see Fast Strokey and Hyjo. They're just trying to loot up. They already fought off spawn, and let's go ahead and show the replay. We got so much action going around the day, and this is that 50-50 right out of the gates. One chest is all 4 players are going for.
Yeah, these 50-50 battles of spawn are so tough at times. A lot of it determined based on how good of a drop you actually have. If you ain't practicing your drops, what are you doing?
That's gonna be the question to ask. Tripping down again, Scram this time around. Good to get him right back on up. These are the days a lot of players are going to be needing that confidence booster right out of the gates. So they know that they can. You can see the leaderboard there. We got a couple of teams, Vidil, Noah O'Reilly, Janice, and Reason, who need these moments, to build that confidence. So they can play in either Surge Week or the Grand Finals, depending on where they're at the end of this one is going to tell so much. T'Challa and Ark, you can already see that they won their off-spawn exchange in back-to-back games.
And that's good to see, right? Of course, in game one, their off-spawn battle was a bit shaky at first. You didn't realize or didn't think whether or not they'd be able to win. This time, of course, both of them sharing the eliminations and another chance for them to showcase what exactly they can do after having such an impressive game one.
I like that find of the key. You get the gold red eye. That's going to deal a lot of damage. It's going to be a huge tool in terms of their Storm Surge, as Vino just spotting out, making sure nobody comes across his land, just looting up. Not too much contest for them right out of the gates. Vidil and Noah O'Reilly could not say the same. Over towards Anvil Square, trying to capture the POI, get that extra loot, but a huge tag is going to be landed onto Noah O'Reilly. Get dropped to about half HP, trying to regenerate as much as possible. Cade going back-to-back at that. Quick as can be, getting the knock onto Vidil, leaving Noah O'Reilly with just a sliver of HP. False hope, some would say, as he tries to go up and over. Nobody taking that peek, but that's going to be Coupe who finishes him off and takes down both Vidil and Noah O'Reilly.
Wow, that is not a good sight if you're a fan of the Germans. We know how big of a day they need to have. So going down on spawn is definitely not going to facilitate that. Switching gears, though, over to the north side of Slacky Shores, we have Mustache and Taysom, who have spotted some players in their general area. And you know how aggressive these guys can be. Mustache, one of my favorite players, personally. I'm a big guy, but every time Mustache sees me, he tries to actually fight me. He has no fear in his heart whatsoever. Fearless, as you like. Paco and Marine, though, we obviously saw them make it very, very deep into that last game. Here they have a bit of a roadblock that they need to deal with first.
Consistency is going to be key. You can already see Paco has on his mind getting that piece control. When push comes to shove, he can bob and weave in and out of these covers to try to find the additional angles. This Trick Skyvy and Scrollbot trying to get angles of their own. That's going to be a huge tag from the Sky. Still trying to build up. Maintaining the high ground is what is most important to him, with the shots coming in from all around. The third party playing a huge role in this exchange as they get knocked down low. Shockwave Hammer causing so much destruction. Marine trying to pop that big pot. Paco's trying to hold his covers and buy him the time necessary in order to do just that.
Yeah, you can see just how aggressive they're being and trying to take claim of some of these pieces. Of course, knocking on all the walls possible. They're actually choosing now to leave the fight. They move backwards and look to regain some resources.
It's actually pretty busy on that side of the map. Having to figure out where you're going to go, how you're going to rotate is going to be important, just like for Reason and Janice. Getting that second place finish. I talked about Reason starting off the day, solo Cash Cup victories. And that's how you really want to start with the confidence, as Delay and Pixie trying to go into the box, taking the pieces over. The multiple angles are really proven to be fruitful. They have a player weak. They're going to drop in. He's barely going to be able to get out, continue to buy him time, but a huge shot, but it's not going to be enough. Already goes down. Delay and Pixie stand tall yet again.
Yeah, Delay and Pixie love to be aggressive and get aggressive in the way they fight these situations. And so, nice to see them in their rhythm, in their element.
This is something interesting. Don't have heals, you don't land on them. Just go ahead and gather 27 slap berries.
Quick maths.
You know, I try. But for them, that's more than just heals, though. They want to go ahead and get the 30 seconds of tactical sprint that they can just immediately rotate the zone. So they're definitely thinking outside of the box. If you don't find what you need, there's always something on the map for you. Trolls and Fire Hunter. Not having the best game number one, but 5 games to go. They can always make up for it with a pop-off performance. But it all starts here. Getting the surge, having that early game that allows you to propel yourself and play even better towards the mid game so you don't have to worry about getting damage on other players. Wow, he's high in the sky there. Put aside XP, saying the same. Trying to put the shot down from above, but taking some damage themselves. That's a blessing and a curse for building this high in the sky. It's easy to get the tags that you need, but it's also easy for players around the map to try to spot you out and catch you slipping when you're going for those necessary tags. Tayson and Mustache, not too far off from Slappy Shores. They're probably just trying to secure their POI, not having the best game one, but they're a team that we've kind of known for pop-off performances game after game, so no worries there. Back to Slappy Shores, though. Making sure that they have everything that they need. The only thing that kind of worries me a little bit, Tayson, is that common Maven that he has. That's a player that I kind of known for having that Thunder or something like that.
Oh, dearie me, we got Janice and Reason here in the Storm. And not looking their brightest, of course, like we said. Second place team in that first game. And so to let us know what's sort of been going on with this team, you got Vivid here on the sideline. What's happening to second place, my friend?
Well, this is going to be a tough one for Janice and Reason rotate-wise. You can see that far south pooling zone. Luckily for them, though, they do have Shockwave Hammers. Actually, both of them lucked out and got one this game. Game one went very, very well for them, but they do need a solid day today to make sure they qualify into that grand finals. And to boot, they also have those chili chug splashes, so the rotate should come out fine. We'll have to see if they can pick up those materials, though.
Yeah, of course. When you have such a difficult rotation to make, going all the way from the northwest to the southeast, it's going to be tough. The zone actually pulling again towards the southeast. So this will probably be one of the more difficult games that this team has to play in terms of just how far they have to traverse through the map, through all these different players. Double Hammer will make it a lot more palatable, though, for them.
I see Seti and Cammy taking some damage very, very early on. Jelly Angler Augment to go ahead and try to refresh what they lost moments ago, and I like the Falcon Scout onto Cammy as well. A passive team that's going to allow them to gather all the information, consistently make it towards the end game. Bull and Vexy, talk about a journey. Man, do they have to go far in order to get there, but luckily for them, there's a lot of static launch pads for them to use over on that side of the map, so rotation isn't necessarily going to be the hardest thing in the world.
It's not going to be the hardest thing, but with all the players that are going to be congregating around that faulty splits area as they try and make it into zone, things are going to get very congested, right? There's going to be less room to breathe for everybody. You can just see that one player all the way there in the southeast just by the beach. They're going to be having an easier time than most others.
It has that almost feeling of deja vu from yesterday. Ed and Miro making that same rotation. It looks good in theory until that team right above you makes you pay, as Kylie and Vico end up in another exchange far off the land. Third party's a possibility, but if they wanted to go ahead and fight this quick, they do have the chance, but it doesn't look like either one want to take that risk just yet. They got themselves a spot in the zone where not too many players are going to be at for now. So it's all about playing the long game. You can have a moment here or there where you feel like you have to attack, you feel like the pressure is on, but you just got to take a step back, take a breath of fresh air, and realize what's really at stake at the bigger picture. Wow.
Thomas based up rather incredibly high. But here's the benefits of it, right? This bird's eye view he has of the players beneath him. That's going to be Janice and Reason. We know the struggles they got to have. It looks like he will look to drop down now to a decent height before continuing his journey into the safe zone. Of course, so with those players behind him, has to be very aware to cover and protect himself.
Kind of seeing what happens when we get these far zones. You got to focus on rotating, focus on getting surge. For some players, they built themselves up enough throughout the course of the game so that way they can just make that quick rotation. As Pings and Kyrie can say they have a ton of surge, but sometimes, Levin, you know as well as I do, if that team that is down on surge ends up next to you, they have no choice but to go. So it doesn't matter how you're playing when it comes to surge. You got to be able to have that defensive part of your plan ready at a moment's notice. In case the team does try to get in, but it does look like a disengage is going to happen. Solo probably trying to get his teammate back. That is Zara. Let's see what he can make out of this game as Tripper and Scram trying to have a much better day. Scram ended up in a 2v1, got the revive to start it off for him and Tripper, taking that momentum into the rest of the game. 569 above the damage threshold. They're hot on the heels of another team. This could be a possible surprise attack.
Lining up the shots. biding their time, waiting patiently. I think the key thing is Landers has to get in ahead of them as far as possible. Give them a bit more space to breathe. As long as the zone doesn't pull their way, they'll have a pathway to get there for Albi and Ludwig. Will they be able to have a better game here in number 2? Way above on Surge, but we know that doesn't always mean that things are going to be easy going.
But at least they're setting themselves up. Just like everybody else in this lobby, you don't want to get stuck having to find Surge in these later zones so everybody can easily third party, fourth party, focus you in the lobby. At the Bull lost Vexy, 147 below the damage threshold, only 2 floppers to his name. He's going to need a miracle of a shot, but honestly, this far out of zone, he could probably try to sneak anybody up, but Stormsurge now playing a role. Both of his floppers are done and over, just a few seconds left to survive. He has to find anybody, any hope, anything here in this situation as Stormsurge continues to play a role. He has no time left, and he ends up going in the direction of Queasy and Vino.
Yeah, you said you had to find anybody, though.
Maybe not them.
There was nobody to find, to be honest. That was certain doom for the duel. I'm sure he'll come back stronger in the next one. Janice and Reason. Props to them for managing to make it this far into the game. Of course, they're down on Surge while focusing on trying to actually get into the zone. They've not been able to pick up many shots onto players, and now actually on the receiving end of some shots, Reason gets taken out. We're seeing a lot of pressure being applied by that Excalibur rifle, and now players up against his wall. This is not what Janice and Reason would have wanted. The caster curse coming through. I said I was impressed to see them at this stage of the game, and they're quickly taken out of it.
That one well turned around rather quickly. It looks like they were in a spot to get some good surge, but blinked, you might have missed it. Queasy, Vino, you saw them get that elimination moments ago. And they're just biding their time. You can see them saving as much of the Chili Chug Splash, as much of the resources as possible. They're one of the teams on a consistent basis that we talk about taking high ground. And that comes on the way of their resource management and ability to find refreshes towards the late game. So interesting to see if anybody can contest them. And this is one of the teams you spotted out, Ark and T'Challa, rotating far south, trying to go to the slowest side of the zone, but a blessing and a curse, barely above the damage threshold. Sooner or later, they're going to have to start getting active on the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, they can just swim in here to dead side. There is a team that could maybe come down and look in this direction, but for the most part, it doesn't seem like there'll be anyone to really take any sort of shots at them. The question is though, right, being down below on Surge, they're gonna have to quickly build up and look to see if they can actually find anybody out to deal some damage on.
Not as easy as it seems, just like this rotation. Hellfire and Ref's Guard taking minimal damage on the way there. But they're still not even there. They realize how stacked this is as it continues to pull south. It pulls a little bit east. This is going to be one of the most congested parts of the map. Probably half the lobby here. Quick guess on that one as Ref Guard and Hellfire trying to go up and over. They barely get themselves an edge, something they can hang on to and find some sort of feeling of comfortability, which isn't much as Rolls lost Fire Hunter. Belusi's nearby. He's been kind of having a little bit of time as a solo already. And this is where it's going to get very, very bad for both of these singular players because how stacked that side of the zone actually is.
Rolls not only having to worry about the players taking shots at him in zone, he obviously has to worry about Belusi here, who he knows is there, and he's
gonna steal the loot.
Oh no, that's the end for Grols.
He did it. Who's his Falcon
Whoever's
Scout?
controlling that, yeah, you have my heart. That was hilarious.
But I really hope that makes the difference at the end of the day. So that way we watch back that and replays and oh my, that Falcon Scout, the MVP of game number 2. Malabuka and Thomas trying to come back from a little bit of a stumble in game number 1. They spot a player above, trying to knock him down right into their hands. But it can only do too much as both of them have red eye. That DPS isn't necessarily there to try to chop him down in the way that they want. Peeking at the wrong time. Take some shots, as you see. Ref Guard and Hellfire really thinking outside of the box, breaking through and immediately getting in. And that's something we're seeing more and more week after week. The Shockwave Hammer drop to either toss people into zone or just toss their builds to the wayside so you can get in without a moment's notice.
Yeah, that was mean. That was real mean from Hellfire and Rescard. No regard for their feelings at all. Taking them out very cleanly with a well-coordinated play. T'Challa and Arc.
That slow side rotation is going to put them 108 below the damage threshold. But they got themselves actually a pretty good spot in the center of zone. But now they're just trying to find the elevation to match it. Getting tagged up to the side. A few missed shots. Going to at least let him know that he's being looked at. Trying to figure out what's going to be the perfect side to peek at. Where are we going to get this damage?
Well, the problem is their positioning is really tough here, right? Because they're down on Surge. And if zone doesn't pull in their favor, they're going to have to start moving because they're central. So they're not going to pull the next zone. If they don't win this fight, this game gets really awkward for them because they don't have the mats to really use to start moving their way to zone. And that's why it seems T'Challa so desperate to pick this one up. Because the mats they get from it will be crucial. Maybe even exposing themselves to the lobby a bit too much to try and get this. But nevertheless, they will look to get in. And get in they will. Can they finally connect though? This play's making it so hard. Oh my goodness, getting pushed out there as well. And they will pick it up in the end as Arc finishes off that player that was Panics. But again, this game is going to be a very difficult one for them with the circumstances in mind. And zone pulling towards the north. I mean, again, they're going to have to use some of their builds. Arc actually goes down in the field at the hands of Thomas. So already seeing how awkward that position was for them.
And Ludwig, you can see how early in the game they're almost over 1,000 above the Storm Surge threshold. Tune in, they're 700 and falling. It's because it allows them to have that comfortability to not worry about tagging up the rest of the lobby. They're straight rotating, trying to get them spot. And you can see in the corner, Tayson is back up into the mix thanks to great plays by Murstache, who looked like he got a 1v2 in a tough situation. Marco and Trick, they have the high ground, plenty of space to work with. There's plenty of heals as well. Just about that rotation. They got one of the farther pulls in the zone. They're trying to use the height that they have as an advantage to try to continue to thin out the lobby. But now they know with zone on their backside, it's their turn to go.
You can see just following behind all those other players who have moved in this direction. There's going to be plenty of builds here that they can use as cover, and of course, making use of some of their own as well. Just hoping that nobody is going to be looking at them, and unfortunately, Trippin will be. He realizes the potential. But also realizes he has to get into zone now and so starting to make his own journey there. Building up above these teams. Need to be careful. That was not his wall. Almost could have got coned up there. And again, usually we have the player right behind him. He didn't spot it out. That's actually going to be Chari causing him issues.
Little cheeky shot. Just getting him weak. Immediately dropping down a couple layers. Arc. Very little builds to work with. Just trying to minimize his position. Minimize any information he's giving out. That Trulex and Chicho close by. Very dangerous place to be in. Yeah,
and of course these guys traded places, right? Arc actually got knocked by Thomas earlier, and T'Challa picked him up. Now T'Challa's out, and so gonna have to rely on Arc in this game. The cabbages will go a long way in keeping him up for a couple extra seconds. Ultimately, he's gonna have to make some sort of a significant play, and actually using that hammer pushes him through builds. I don't think he realizes there's a team on the other side of that wall, and there's a team right in front of him here. That's Trulex and Chicho. But right behind him, there were players just waiting for that opportunity, and he just gave it to them, wrapped up in a wonderful little gift for them as well. Ludwig and Albi, sorry, and now starting to line up their hammer. Albi just scouting out, making sure they know where exactly they're gonna land here.
Immediately, Cammy trying to scan, making sure he knows every single player that is around him in his zone this tight. You're going ahead and probably spotting out 30+ players as they find the journey that they want to go. Immediately moving forward, going up a few layers. This is going to get dangerous because we're moving up and down the different elevations. So thinking ahead of the game is going to be so important. And that's what you have Trick doing. Ultimate high ground for now, but you see who's right below him. Queasy and Vino, Tripper and Scram, a lot of opportunity to get knocked down.
Yeah, they're going to have to connect real soon, though. Just on that one layer, easily able to be chopped out there. And so we'll see if they can hold on to it. For Scram and Trippin, though, this is a big game for them. A big chance because they're now up to the duo, and they're moving on to one of the biggest teams in the lobby, and they're just going to wipe them out as they walk in through that box. Scram and Trippin take out Queasy and Vino with ease.
And just like that, the lay of the land has changed. The high ground kings have been out of the lobby. Now it's anybody's chance once they realize that to really rise to the top and take over the rest of the game, as Albi using every single splash that he has to try to stagger himself as long as possible. Shockwaving up a few layers, but now he's out of opportunity, trying to break the builds as fast as possible, but he gets knocked down as well. He is literally going through it right now, 11, and doesn't make it to the top of the mountain.
Just getting caught on the stair, and that keeps him in a zone a second too long. Marco and Trick, they're still able to keep hold of height. Not too high though, and so again, the potential's always there. But Hellfire, he's not worried about height, he's worried about staying alive. He's worried about picking up the limbs. He has that wall. I don't think he realizes that there was a potential for him to actually just pick that one up. Either way though, you can see the view they have here from above. So many people building, and for the ones that aren't building, the likes of Hellfire, there will be shots being able to take. And you see there, this is what I was worried about, them getting chopped out, and they don't have the mats to deal with that. So then I'm just gonna have to rely on what they have, what's already been built, and hope that nobody comes up too fast.
Lucky for them, they have the splashes. Try to get the HP up before anybody even notices them on the high ground. The FNCS Invitational winners, Seti and Cammy, playing smooth towards the low ground, staying ahead of everybody, but down goes Scram. Trippin' trying to just get out before it gets worse. Shockwaving up, going over, trying to play a little trickaroo to get himself out of dodge, and it's gonna work for now. He bought himself a couple of seconds, but now he has to pop the med miss.
Yeah, and Trippin is not working with much at all. He needs to use the 200 wood he has. This should give himself some time to maybe med mist up. The longer he stays in the game, the more placement points they get, the higher they can move in the standings. Just him staying alive here will be good enough. But up above, you see there's been a switch up. Kami and Vanyak, they're looking good.
Yep. They got it taken over. We saw Tricked and Marco out of resources, out of mats. They go ahead and give it up before it's over. Seti goes down. Cammy have found 2 eliminations since we last saw him. Can he find more? A huge shot from above, but that one's not going to land. Cammy, now he has a chance to stagger himself out. 2 splashes, med miss, but he's taking some damage along the way. Spots a couple players. A huge shot's going to be landed. If at first you don't succeed, you try again. Gets the knock. One more player in the line of sight, but he gets taken down by Marco.
Unfortunately, whiffing the shot, and that's going to cost him. Marco picking up 3 though. He's on an absolute tear, and Hellfire is as well. He picks up Tuna, and he's going to keep it moving. But there is a player, or a team I should say, down on low. Marco using him in miss just to stay in zone a bit longer, trying to see if he can use anything to his advantage here. There are players still in the zone, and that's Hayes and Mustache down on low. They're going to be the ones clearing out everybody who tries to drop into their sights. And before they can even pick up Marco, Kami and Vanyak from above are going to take him out. They will pick up Poopy though, and so that's going to be the clash of these 2 teams. One solo still remaining in between, and that's Hellfire who's in this one.
Yep, you see they have the med miss when worst comes to worst. Kami, 8 splashes to his name. Hellfire still causing some chaos. That is towards the low ground. Spots out Mustache and Tayson trying to get in, but he gets tagged up from above. Game over for you. Tayson and Mustache 2v2 against Kami and Vanyak for the game right now.
2 top teams, and 2 teams on nice layers, looking controlled, looking calm. For Mustache though, they're going to start running out of mats, so they can't afford to just keep on holding on. They might look to Triforce to fight. Of course, there is the med miss in hand, so that will come in handy. I don't think the heal off is necessarily going to be the play here. It's going to be about hitting your shots, forcing the issue. And for Vanyak and Kami, that might just play into their hands. We know how confident they are in close range combat. Who's going to come out on top? The zone is pulling across this hill, and so now Tayson maybe feeling like he has to force the issue, dropping these guys down. Vanyak moving up, hitting a big shot as well. That's exactly what he needed to do. Tayson falls, so it's all on Mustache now. He picks up one, but can he close it out? Can he pick up the last one?
Grabbing the Siphon mats just in the nick of time to keep himself alive. Splashing Tayson to not let the Siphon go over. Mustache, 200 IQ, thinking outside of the box, but Vanyak trying to go up and over. Not going to be able to work. Mustache buying himself so much time. Danger Hero playing a role, but it's not enough to stop Vanyak as he takes the game.
Vanyak knew that the time was ticking, and he took no chances at all. Forced his way into the box and took down Mustache. Clinically done. I, for a moment there, thought Mustache was going to be able to do it. You saw he was still in his element, but nevertheless, he was no match for Kami and Vanyak, who closed things out from above.
Opportune time, taking away high ground from Trick and Marco, and from there, they told the rest of the lobby, it is over. It's ours for the taking, and they do so with 10 eliminations, breaking that double-digit barrier. Whew, that's a big game.
Not giving Mustache a chance to breathe. 2 wins we've seen now from teams just doing the business when they are up above the rest of the lobby. Is this going to be the trend for the day? It certainly has been that in the early stage.
Yeah, and you saw Queasy and Vino went down, and that's where everybody took advantage of stealing away that high ground. But who is going to steal away that top spot on the leaderboard? Analysts, let us know who it is.
You know what? I feel like this was actually the story of Scram and Trippin, because they were the ones that took the fight to Queasy and Vino's doorstep. They said, knock, knock, back to lobby you go. That meant Kami and Vanyak, they said, wait a minute, there's a window, there's an opportunity. We're going to take full advantage of that, baby. We have to right here and right now. And for them, a 10-point victory royale in game number 2. I mean, that's the way we want to get it into gear.
Played out perfectly for them, didn't it? I mean, Queasy and Venom not in the game. They do have, of course, Trippin and Scram to thank for that. What elimination, by the way. What a play, because, of course, I think it was both Queasy and Venom were holding out their bills to try and hold the wall. Neither of them had their shotgun out, so couldn't sort of stop the force of Scram and Trippin coming in. Beautiful elimination. As you mentioned, Zeke opened the door wide open.
Yeah, they just basically came busting through the wall, and there was really nothing that Queasy or Vino could have done about it. But I, again, have to point out the fact that as soon as Queasy and Vino go down, that constant transitioning, there was never really a duo that was able to establish themselves on those high ground layers. I mean, we even saw it get taken basically to the mid and low ground territory at the end.
It was. Banyak and Kami, though, coming out on top with the victory. I mean, that is how it's done, right? Staying so many layers above that if anyone down below wants to try and hammer up, it's not happening. And they did really, really well here. Putting down the pressure with those red eyes is not easy, and keeping up those eliminations throughout the mid game was so important. But of course, this is the moment right here where we saw them going head-to-head against Tayson and Mustache. Tayson and Mustache tried to throw a spanner in the works, but they held it out. They played very, very patiently. A very, very mature way of playing the end game because they didn't rush into it.
It was almost brilliant, though, by Mustache actually using the Chug Splash to try and buy just a little bit more time to prevent Anya from finding that refresh. But again, that's the beauty of the Shockwave Hammer. You can just immediately catapult up. The fact that he was able to get that overhyped view onto Mustache there at the end was ultimately what managed to seal the deal.
Yeah, and I want to point out here, Seti and Cammy, of course, IWL, I will not lose. And of course, the 8, the amount of placements they decide to go up these standings right now. They're making shockwaves as well. I'm telling you, it's just the Queasy Vino effect, right? Without them, hey, everyone, it's free territory. Run!
But what was ridiculous about Seti and Cammy is that if you looked at the zones, we're in first moving. And Cammy is there utilizing a Falcon Scout throughout the entirety of this process. There's so much happening around them, and yet he's still finding a period to actually utilize the Falcon Scout. He even managed to pick up a Gold Thunder from this that helped actually move him a little bit further on. But again, the gear that was established off of this Falcon Scout, it's just incredible that they've managed to get utility out of this so late into the match.
You know what's funny too? Jacob joked that the Falcon Scout would be the MVP. Turns out it was.
It was. Is this duo season or trio season? Because they were using a third member of their team right there. But what I really liked about the way the Cammy and Seti played this is they identified that it was a bit of a zone where we had some hills, bit of a topsy-turvy one. So Seti actually going up layers. We saw it. Going up so many layers midway through that end game to put them in the position that they were able to look back and pick up eliminations. You don't want to be stuck down on that low ground when it's going up a hill because you can't get your way up, especially when you don't have the hammer in your inventory, as we saw Cammy pick one up later. But unfortunately for them, couldn't quite close it out with this little bit of a whiff from Cammy, but he did so well up until then.
But it was still smart how he was also utilizing Falcon Scout to get those constant pings out, know exactly how they wanted to actually transition their maneuverability throughout those mid-ground layers, and it makes it all the easier when you know everybody's at.
And I gotta just point out, I don't know if you guys at home see this number right here. You see this number right here? 43 placements. Tayson, Mustache, finally having that opportunity once again to showcase they are a top dog. They are a top duo, and right now they showed us why.
Yeah, this is the first time almost this season where we've seen them have an identity. They've played that low ground layers so effectively well, and I think this could be the way for them. I think this could be the way forward. Playing the low ground layers just seems to work so well for them, bouncing off each other, doing so well at just picking up eliminations together, which is something that we haven't seen too much of them so far. They've been trying to play high ground, they've been trying to play mid ground, but I think low is where this team can shine. I
mean, when you think about Mustache back when he was paired with Malabuka, what were they known for? They were basically just low ground demons, and so to see them kind of fall back to that, or Mustache in particular, I think that Tayson did a great job at essentially just gliding alongside of him and just helping him to try and maintain focus on their target calling.
Yeah, they were. And of course, what they didn't quite have was the material, so they decided to go for that hammer play. Of course, Kami and Banyak did a great job of keeping them down, but it couldn't quite turn out for a win for Mustache.
Yeah, EU right now, they're firing on all cylinders, right? They're showcasing you don't just need shockwaves to put up numbers or move up and down the standings. There's so many different avenues and methods to find that moment for you and your duo. And with 4 more games, I'm just super excited.
Again, I really just want to see if we can maintain those same duos that are trying to stay within that 40 threshold, or even some that are just trying to qualify for the Surge Week.
Badil no Riley, not quite a great game for them, going down pretty much off spawn right there. So we hope that they will be able to pick things up because they need a good game. We talked about it earlier. Hope they can continue.
Top 7, man. Yeah. That is difficult to do. But hey, you move up 43 placements, anything is possible. But we know what you want. You want more action here from the FNCS. So let's get right back on the battle bus and run it back.
I'm strapped in. I'm ready for game number 3. That battle bus is getting gassed up though. And for a lot of these players, they have to be doing the same thing, whether it's energy drinks or taking a moment to refocus yourself. It's important.
Yeah, look, I'm looking at that top 10. It was incredibly close amongst everybody except for first place, right? Kami and Vanyak with like a 60-point lead looking ridiculous. Can they continue to increase their lead and build momentum going into the FNCS final week?
Hey, it was a solo clutch where I first saw Vanyak and I became a fan. I had to message him saying, bro, you are insane. Since then, he's been popping up left and right, but my seatbelt strapped. Hope yours is too. The battle bus is ready. Game number 3 begins. And this is the last game before that halfway point. And where you're at in the leaderboard dictates so much.
It is so crucial to do well in today's games. If you are one of those teams that hasn't quite solidified your spot in the FNCS final via series points or even in Surge Week, right? There will be a couple teams in that sort of situation. So having to make the most of this one. Frey and Clown, an example of one of those kind of teams.
Well, this is one we've waited to see. Tripping to Scram. Usually winning this more times than not, and you can kind of see the effect it's having game after game, forcing these players away to split the loot even more than they would have wanted to. And for Tripper and Scram, you're going to be able to kind of get a lot of these resources, especially when it comes to that metal. And it does look like there's enough separation. If they go ahead and like what they see, Duck's by himself, they're going to try and go, and it does look like they can see that green light. Scram is already on his way. Tripper him close behind. Oh, no.
On the chase.
Not good. Impulsing him right out of the bush. These 200 IQ plays. I said I was a fan of EU for the calculated aggression just like that. Astral trying to join in on the fun. A great day for him could mean grand finals. A bad one could mean Surge Week. And I can see why they're trying to disengage, get out of this one, especially with another team looming in the distance, and then even a 4th team close by as well.
Yeah, the Man City duo are here and they have very mean intentions. They don't intend to let these guys go. They want to close things out. They want both eliminations.
Perfect opportunity for them to try to fight is they're still separated and they have additional angles. Astral's getting back down even more. Scram continues to move forward. His W key is held down right now, trying to get into the box, even without any sort of variation of shotgun, fighting for his life, but bites off more than he can chew. 11 HP, but he has the quick heals to get right back into it in a moment's notice. Even Trippin took a huge tag along the way. Astral fighting back tooth and nail, almost making the magic happen before he finally gets shut down.
Hey, look, I respect him for not going down without a fight. Nevertheless, Scram and Trippin deal with him accordingly. They ventured far away from where they would want to be in, so almost running into different players. Kylie here with Vico over at Slappy Shores, and Beerus was, I guess, hoping that he would not be spotted. And for a moment, Kylie didn't actually see him, but eventually picking him up as well. And so another win here for them in the south side of Slappy. It wasn't like Tasty and Stash were ready to push in, so it looked like they dealt with it rather quickly, which is to their advantage. So we'll see if they can continue to scare those guys off of Slappy Shores.
Uh-oh. As we join in this one, Coupe and Cade. Looks like they might already have that elimination onto Vidil. Huge tag on Noah Riley as well. Back up against the wall. Cade waiting, buying time for his teammate to get there. Coupe with the 2v1, and down they go yet again. The struggles continue for Vidil, Noah Riley. But for Cade and Coupe, this is an opportunity for new players, or new-ish players, to really rise to the top and claim that superstardom of their own.
JJ2 and Glubshi in the midst of a fight here. And it's one that we've seen in some of these previous games. And one that they like to play a little slower, but they're not being afforded that in this game. Plenty of pressure being applied, and JJ2 going to be running through his builds. Eventually he's going to have to respond to something. He can't just afford to sit there and hold on to the current for much longer, and they actually get chopped out completely. And so now we might see a fight break out rather soon. If Brant had hit that, things could have been looking very, very different. He is going to keep on applying that pressure.
You can't even see the distance. Third party throwing in a couple shots, making it that much harder for JJ2 and Glubshi. But looking like they found the separation that they needed, trying to jump on the Brandman while they can, but the shot's still coming in from all around. For Glubshi and JJ2, this is not a position that you want to be in. As the pressure there, getting separated for a moment, finding each other into the same box. And JJ2 trying to put some counter pressure out onto Brand, so that way it's Glubshi who can probably pop the big pot, get themselves to at least 150 shield and HP to continue this fight. That's where Brand and Moneymaker, now that they have the high ground, they're slowly trying to play it, take layer by layer. Piece control is going to be important in a situation like this, as Brand's now trying to go around. You got to be careful when you're playing this low ground on the natural terrain. Shots coming in from all directions. Brand now quick to turn around. JJ2, Glubshy, they're separated for now, but this could be a chance for Moneymaker and Brand to try to attack any one of these two players, but nobody is really trying to get into the box. Nobody is playing daring enough to try to make that big play just yet.
You don't want to overextend, you don't want to get caught out. Of course, for JJ2 and Glubshy, they need to farm a bit while they're in here. They don't have many builds to protect themselves with. That's the case, and they might find themselves in the midst of a fight here. Looks like they're actually trying to dodge that from happening. There's Tuna and Slow-Mo. Apply some pressure, but ultimately there's a big enough of a gap between the two to where nothing is urgent.
Robot, Fast Roki and Hydro. Walks is nearby. High ground goes to Robot and Walks. They're gonna try to hold on for as long as they can, but third parties come in. You know how busy Faulty Splits actually is. It's an opportunity for a lot of teams to get the tags they need to progress into the game. And talk about tags, Robot is wasting a lot of his heals because of third parties. People aren't even directly into this fight, and that's where he's gonna be like a disengage. We're taking too much damage. This isn't the play we wanna make. And honestly, still finding those scraps that they left behind moments ago, immediately knowing every single bit of loot that they once had.
And it looks like things are still taking place here, and maybe a conclusion is going to be drawn soon, because Brandt's down. It's Podesai and it's Sweeze who've rolled up and now started to make things happen just that bit quicker, making things snappy.
More players coming in as well. Third party, fourth party. Invite or not, they're still going to crash it as JJ got pushed down to the low ground. Moneymaker is trying to use that as a distraction to try to stay alive. And that fourth party, none other than Malibuca and Thomas HD, who immediately claimed that position on the high ground. An opportunity to surprise attack if they don't know he's there, as Podesai and XSqueeze still playing aggressive, trying to get the pieces under their control, chasing JJ2 down even more. This is one of those fights you really have to be careful. If you're one of those teams that you kind of started off where it's JJ, you don't exactly know how many teams are there, but for Malibuca and Thomas, you know every single bit of information. You know how many players are there. You know where they're at exactly. And because you're in zone, you have all the time in the world to wait for this to be a possibility.
Yeah, Sweeze and Podesai, of course, they came into things trying to move really quickly, but sort of forced to slow down here as well. Some time to select between their augments. Of course, you can see it, Sweeze there making his choice. At least cycling through. Now they see Malibuca and Thomas looking to leave. And they'll see that as an opportunity to just get some more damage, some more tags, not necessarily trying to force a conclusive battle.
I like it. Everybody got what they wanted. Overstaying is never good. They're erring on the side of caution. Squeezy and Vino making their way south. Not too far of a journey for them so far, as you can kind of see them spreading out, trying to get multiple angles of what they think is a possible duo team, but they immediately rotated out. Timing is of the essence for a lot of these players, especially with how far to the map the zone is pulling on either side, whether it's north or south, east or west. Getting there before the rest of the lobby is going to be crucial if we get another drastic pull. But for Vaniac and Carmi, they have all the confidence in the world after not only taking high ground late in that game, but solidifying that victory royale as well.
Poopy and Cade positioned here at the Anvil Square. We'll see where zone pulls and if that favors them or not. And that's going to be real nice for them, right? Because Anvil Square is sitting just on the edge of that zone line. All those players coming in from the east side of the map are going to look to rotate in this general area. So there'll be plenty of opportunities for them to pick up tags if need be. Clear out a pathway for them to get more central into the zone as well.
I like Koopy and Cade. They got their early game skirmish victory over towards Anvil against Vidil. No O'Reilly immediately trying to farm up and rotate. Not too far of a journey for them, but far enough to where they're trying to make it a focus point of their game. Hellfire got dropped, so that leaves Refsguard by himself. He doesn't have any sort of mobility, but when it comes to the instant heals, he has a flopper. Chug splashes him push comes to shove, he at least has something he can hang on to, buy a couple extra seconds while he figures out what's going to be plan B.
Yeah, and of course, those guys are so high in the standings, right? They came into this game in the top 5. So hopefully we'll see more from them. For the team that has lit the world on fire and is currently at top of the leaderboards by quite the margin, we have Vivid here to fill us in on what they've been up to.
Yeah, let's take a quick look at their early game right here. They're going to be using the kinetic rock to rotate into Shattered Slabs. They do land just south of it, right? But they want to go ahead and push this team. Unfortunately for them, though, they do kind of get stuck up in these buildings and don't get much surge from this position. They do have the necessary, ammunition to do this. As you can see them here, buying some. They don't necessarily have to use that gold for those reloads because it costs so much. But as we tune back in with them, I don't think they have enough damage, so they'll have to hurry up and get some.
Thank you, Vivid, for that. Huge masterclass, letting us know how you go from victory royale and try to turn it into a back-to-back. Having almost every facet of your early game locked down, being able to focus on 1 or 2 things as the game progresses. I heard him call it out. Storm Surge is probably going to be their focus, and for Seti and Cammy, they're setting up right now to try to get Storm Surge of their own. Pretty passive when it comes to the early game, so it's the late game you usually expect to see them pop off. For Janice and Reason, they're trying to have a consistent pop-off performance on the day. Interesting enough, only 17 above the damage threshold. Always staying proactive, though. Even though you're above, he knows it's a slim margin. There's no reason left in the game, so he's a solo. There's another player right above him. He can instantly try to look out into the distance to try to find the tags, or he can take the chances, go up against Fire Hunter, get it that way. Nonetheless, both of these players are struggling when it comes to the damage.
Yeah, Fire Hunter. Plenty of communication still going on with Grows, even though Grows is down. Still planning out the best course of action, of course, with how down below on Surge he is. There's still plenty of work to do. He's aware of Janice just beneath him, so some of the movements they made there. And knowing Fire Hunter, worst comes to worst, he will just look to force his way into Janice's box. If any players rotating in can present an opportunity, I'm sure that would maybe be an easier solution for him. The risk with trying to take a fight against Janice box to box is just exactly this, where you end up in someone's face, you get a large chunk of your damage taken. And once again, you'd think this is the one that moves him in, but no! Janice got some shots from a third party from afar taken at him, and Fire Hunter was able to just cleanly pick him up. That was very fortunate, but nevertheless.
That was great effort, though, from Janice. He got that immediate first tag and knew he was just a few boxes away and saw it as a green light to immediately be on the chase. A well-played shot from Fire Hunter. Maybe a couple tags coming in from the third party. You can see he's happy to survive that one.
Yeah, the smile on his face, he's grinning. He knows how fortunate it was that somebody else came to his aid, came to his rescue, because Janice was putting the pressure on. I don't think, as much as the elimination was very useful, the fact that he wasn't able to deal all the damage in that one means that he is still down below on Surge, and so a blessing in disguise also turning into a problem he'll have to solve. Diox, though, plenty to solve here. He does still have the potential to revive Mappy if needed be, but with so many players around him, it doesn't seem like that's going to be possible, and it won't be. Refsguard now trying to get in on the action and actually falling. The hammer there breaking the builds beneath his feet and relegating him down to the ground, where he'll have to use a med miss to get himself back up, and of course does have some floppers.
See, he has the icy slide as well.
Icy slide.
That speed boost to get there. Whew. Panyao, shockwave hammering up and over. It's only a matter of time. Gets the piece control. They add it in, but Refsguard. Oh my gosh. That is a huge momentum shift as a solo.
Refsguard dealt with Painter there. That was not nice. Let's look at this shot again. Lining it up, and wow, just bang right to the face.
Under pressure again from one fight to the next. Mustache and Taste, and no shields to their name. Fighting for their life in a moment like this. 378 above the damage threshold, but find a crevice, they can back down. Tasted goes down altogether. Mustache goes for the Siphon. Much needed health and shield, and he's immediately trying to move Tasted out of that situation. Doesn't want to let the Siphon go easy. Possibly even bait the res to get users to peek. Two different shockwave hammers to use. Even has a chug splash from push comes to shove. And this is where the play is going to be made. The mind games are now into fruition as users are trying to use that shockwave hammer to break through the builds. The revive is going to be stopped. Mustache now has to fight back. Last splash is going to be used as well. No chance to regain the health, but with the health lead between him and users, he will have the advantage. You add on the shot, blow for blow. Danger Hero now playing a role and trying to keep him alive. Mustache uses that shockwave hammer to try to take advantage of the situation. Strike while the iron's hot. Down goes Tayson. Siphon goes over. Peekaboo, another shot being fired by users. Backing down Mustache even more, and with not a lot of time on his hands, not a lot of health on his back, he has to make the decision. He has to make the defining play. He fires off again, and Mustache comes out on top.
Beautiful for Mustache. He just doesn't seem to lose 1v1s unless it's against Vanyak. But wow, brilliantly done there to keep his game alive. We know how important it's going to be for them as they continue their rise up the standings, and even if Tayson isn't going to be alive in this one, if Mustache can continue to win 1v1s like that, and there's a good chance they'll keep up where they are in the leaderboard.
Talk about a team where they're out in the leaderboard, Scram and Trippin'. They don't necessarily need the biggest day in the world in order to get their ticket directly to Grands.
Spoke too soon. Mustache goes down in the feed. Unlucky.
Oof. You might have cursed him just a little bit, but we'll throw that to the side. Actually, you know, momentum comes to an end once in a while. It was Malabuka and Thomas trying to build their own momentum. No shockwave hammer. Spoke too soon again. Picks up the shockwave hammer, has the launch pad as well. Easy for them to use. Only worry is that 30 damage. They are above the damage threshold when it comes to Storm Surge. The players of this caliber, they're experts. They know how to pick it up. They know how to find what they need at a moment's notice. You can see Vino and Queasy separated away from everybody else, going up against Kyrie and Pings, but the shots coming in. Talk about separation with a red eye. You can still tag players up from a distance. And a couple of teams close by at the Citadel as well. That's where Queasy and Vino, they're going to choose to disengage, stay out of this situation. They realize how important it is for them to save all of their resources for the next couple of zones where eventually they're known for taking height. Kings and Kyrie staggering themselves. They heard Queasy and Vino rotate out, and that's going to be their sigh of relief. Now they can make their own rotations, picking up a Falcon Scout. Plenty of heals, plenty for Kyrie to work with, honestly. This team isn't in that bad of a situation. The only question mark that I have is when it comes to the resources altogether.
Yeah, and you saw the move there to make across the river to get in. Of course, a decent journey to make it to the zone, and so we'll have to hope that there's nobody there waiting to hold them, stop them from making their way into the safe zone. Seti and Cammy, we saw obviously what they were able to do last game, sort of running low in terms of the fuel. And we know that when they are fueled up, that is a powerful engine.
Promo and Tuna, 46 below. Trying to figure out what's the play that they want to make. See the big bush bomb going down. Bush Warrior Augment playing a role as well. But they're still on the hunt, trying to figure out where these players at. Shockwave trying to take control of the pieces, but it gives away his position. That team immediately takes a few more layers up, trying to get out of the situation, especially, you know, a Shockwave hammer is just looming right below you. At a moment's notice, everything can come crashing down. 115 below, a situation you wouldn't expect Thomas and Malabuka to be in either. Talk about the Shockwave hammer. They go up and over into the box. Thomas trying to make magic happen. He makes it. Rig shot going to be landed, but an even bigger one's going to take him down altogether. It's all up to Malabuka as Vico is the one to take down Thomas, getting pushed back in his zone, forced to use those splashes in order to stay alive.
Yeah, and it's not done yet for Vico, right? There's so many players just beneath him. So at any moment, he could get dropped down. Malabuka now having to come up with all the answers as Thomas is nowhere to be found. And one solution may be to just take the fight. He wants to get in, it seems. He wants to take claim of those builds, needs to reset that wall, because he does not have the shields to get himself back up. Fortunately for him, though, the Danger Hero will get him back up to maximum HP. This is not looking good for Malabuka at all here.
Not looking good for any of the teams on this side of the zone. Max pull for them. Even with a Shockwave hammer, we've seen the bittersweet feeling. They're susceptible to taking damage flying through the sky. The shots are going to fire through. Pachawa and Joker not taking too many tags, going through without a single scratch on them, allowing them to save not only builds, but heals as well, setting themselves up for a mighty endgame.
Scram and Trippin'. Another one of those teams who we've been highlighting all day long, bigging them up and talking about how good of a day they need to have. They've started things well and it's doing things well in this game. Pixie did not see them coming, caught with his pants down. And Scram and Trippin, that is a beautiful find at this stage in the game. The resources they get out of that one are going to keep on pushing, and Scram is already working with max materials. And I wouldn't be surprised if Trippin isn't far off that as well. This is setting up to be a really nice game for them.
Beautiful overview. You can see them taking the slowest side of the zone as well. Add on great move after great move as Kyrie's just trying to use all the splashes to stay alive under pressure from the low ground, backing himself to the backside of zone, but he's not picking up the shockwave hammer. Gets it just in the nick of time to go up and over all this madness.
Yeah, and Kyrie just surviving right now in this game. Of course, not without doing some big damage here. He took down Queasy there, and I'm sure we'll get a quick little replay of this. Yeah, what is it that he actually did? You can see running in a big shot onto Queasy before he gets the finish as well. Does he pick up Vino? Oh. Wow.
And again,
not every day you get to say 1v2'd Queasy and Veno, is it?
Not every day. Hopefully he clipped that one. He can probably put in his book of memories for after that one, but you can see the lay of the land changing right before our very eyes with Queasy and Vino going down. If anybody else spotted that one out, a team like Tripper and Scran could be the next up to hold on to that high ground, but 6 moving zones, so many shockwave hammers below them, only time will tell.
Yeah, and with the second place team going down, there's plenty of potential now for players to start catching up and start to make things different in the leaderboard. So many of our top 10 teams have fallen already, and so many of the teams just outside of that mark looking to push their way on in. Robot and Wox exactly one of those teams there as they move through together. Podosai and Swedes, they're a team that still remains in this high area and very much needs to have a good game here if they want to solidify themselves. Banyak though, first place on the leaderboard without his teammate.
Yeah, I first learned about him when he made a solo clutch, and look at him now. Back to where we began. A chance to make another solo play of a lifetime, but Podosai and X-Squeeze try to go to the front side of zone. X-Squeeze gets spotted out, tagged up by Clownski. That's going to leave Podosai by himself, trying to have to think. But he could make the play right now with not too many players nearby. He could try to go for that res, get his teammate back into it, especially with zone pulling in their direction.
Podosai. The Reds isn't really going to be viable with the way the zone is pulling against him. He doesn't have many chug splashes to work with. Banyak patiently waiting for Panics to make a play, and Gripey is almost stopped in his tracks as Giras is there to stop him. Chari finally finishing him off, and Banyak just watching there from the sidelines. He can't really get involved in that one. Robot and Wox, they're getting involved in all the business right now of the second height teams. They currently hold the keys to the height.
Going over mountains, going over treacherous waters towards the low ground. It's going to be important for them to try to take advantage of the situation, but with only red eyes, there's only so much pressure one player can do. Talk about one player though, Cammy, 1 elimination so far, running out of builds, resources. Cypher's gonna be needed, and Trippin gets knocked out of zone once again. A play we love to see oh so much. No shockwave hammer charges yet, so he can't go directly back into the zone. The last splash gonna be used. Is he gonna be able to make it? And he does, just with only 20 HP left.
2 seconds to spare, but he still has plenty of time in this game, assuming he can hit a big shot, because no materials to work with is gonna be oh so tough. The same can be said for Podosai. Mantle's up, able to stay alive for just a couple more moments. I don't think they realize just exactly where he is, but another shot there might just reveal where he is, and eventually gets taken out. It's going to be one of the Frenchies that does it. And so Paco now, he doesn't have Marine, but he does still have a shot in this game. Can he find something? Can he keep it moving? Still has mats to work with, just has to build his way into zone.
Top 5 situation here. Those are valuable points for any solo as Andalex trying to look down low, finds slow-mo slipping, a little too slow for that one as Andalex now under pressure. Plenty of splashes to work with, different variations as well. He just needs to be able to make it out and find a position to stabilize himself along with Snazy.
Quickly tucking himself back into that box, side by side with his team. And so now we're seeing the last 3 teams in this game all gonna come to a clash. You've got to think though, the team that's stuck in between, sandwiched in right now, is not the team you want to be in. That's Andalex and Snazy, and you're already seeing them get punished as a result of it. They don't have mats though, so they don't really have a choice, having to dance around these builds, hoping that they can't get caught out. And Snazy's doing a brilliant job of dodging and weaving right now, but how long can he keep this up for? Wox is gonna fall as well. They're actually giving him a chance here, but no, gets taken down. You've got to think Andalex will follow, and he will. And so now 1v2 for Robot. What can he do? Can he take them out? Can he hit these shots?
It's gonna be big. anybody can do it, it is going to be Robot from the flank. He's able to land a big shot, but it's not enough. Perchawa and Joker take the game with 4 eliminations, and those are the big moments you're looking for. The third game, the one right before the halftime. It's those series points that everybody is after, the qualification into Grands or directly into Surge Week. Nobody wants to be looking at everybody else playing in the next couple weeks saying that should be me.
They fought hard and they fought well and they win the game as a result of it. Just waiting patiently down below for players to drop down into their sights, not doing anything too crazy other than hitting the key shots, right? Not a high-scoring elimination game by any means, but getting the key eliminations when they mattered the most. A nice win, and one that will definitely do well for them here in the standings.
And you can kind of see they didn't have a ton of resources. That goes to show that just enough resources can really make the difference. Wax and Robot fell down into the hands, and they got Andalex, they got Snazzy, they got the Siphon, they got the Mats. That was a perfect recipe for success.
A very impressive game from that duo and plenty of implications for the standings. So many of the top teams weren't even in that end game there and so didn't have a chance to defend their leads. We'll see what that's like. We're going to send it back to Zeke.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Halfway through week number 3 in EU with only 3 games left to go. The pressure is continuing to mount for these duos. But as they talked about, with no high-end, high-profile duos left, all being eliminated early, everyone else had an opportunity to swing these standings.
Well, you say that, but as far as Perchawa and Joker are concerned, this could not have been a more crucial moment for them to establish a victory royale, because they are one of those teams that need a wonderful day today, because they believe a 4th place finish on the day if they want to be able to actually maintain top 40 to go straight to Grands and avoid Surge Week. So if you're asking for a moment to rise to the occasion, this was definitely theirs.
Yeah, and you can see it right there. Moving up 20 places is huge for this duo. And of course, this is kind of in their vicinity. This is kind of in their back garden. This is where they drop in this sort of area. So they didn't have too many eliminations going into this because they didn't need them. They didn't need those early surge tags and those early surge damage because they had all that set up for them for success. And the way they played these low ground layers was absolutely perfect. Of course, Wox isolating himself in that fight in the mid ground, and it was just a little 2v1. Very, very nice and easy.
Yeah, I mean, look at that. They move up the 28 places, right? So many of these duos are just doing those little things, right? We talk about that one game. That's the swing that you need. At the top, though, Vanya, Karmi still holding things down. And now look at this lead that they have created for themselves. With 3 games left to go, you got to wonder, can they keep it going?
Hopefully for them. I mean, they have 19 eliminations today so far, so they are absolutely unbelievably doing well. They are doing so good because they're playing that placement as well as the eliminations as well. They're not just focusing on one thing at once, and they're able to play different layers. Of course, we saw them win on high ground. We've seen them playing the mid ground, and we know how strong this duo can be, particularly Vanyak, when it comes to getting eliminations on mid ground. He's just incredible. I don't think he actually misses, ever.
No, I'd have to agree right there with you, but also I can't help but notice that as far as the high ground and the reason why it keeps being openly contested, we don't see Queasy and Vino actually taking by the first moving zone, but have to also note, Kyrie and Ping, they've actually been challenging Queasy and Vino right before that transition from the half and half zone into first moving, and because of that, I think that's why we're seeing so much chaos when it actually comes to trying to establish height.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, with 3 games left to go, we'll have much to discuss, but guess what? We have a very special guest interview coming up right now. It is none other than Merle. Hello, Merle. Great to meet you.
Hello.
How you feeling?
Hello. I'm good. I'm enjoying the show tonight. It's going great. Doing great. Not bad at all. How about you guys? You all having fun tonight?
Oh, always. Always, man. When it comes to Fortnite, we have a great time. So, hey, you're a bit of an expert when it comes to zero build, right? And you've been kind of keeping up with the games. How are you finding what's the difference, right? From going from zero build to builds?
No, for sure. I mean, I think the obvious thing is just the huge skill gap with builds versus zero builds. You know, if you're someone who's new coming into Fortnite, you know, learning to be building like the pros tonight playing, you know, it's going to take years, you know, whereas I've noticed with zero build, for example, competitive is definitely there. It's very skillful in things, but you can definitely tell build mode is just, you know, it's another level of advance, you know.
It's definitely always fun to follow along with the action, and since you've been doing so, do you by chance have a particular favorite that you're pulling for today?
Tonight it's 100% got to be Vino and Queasy, although I have just seen they've had a rocky game there. You know, I'm sure with, you know, 3 more games to go, I'm sure they can bring it back easily. However, overall, I'm really hoping to see Nebs and Pink FN, you know, pull it through for Surge Week next week and then make it into the finals. Nebs is actually quite close to me here in the UK, so I'm rooting for a local lad, you know.
I love to see it. Rooting for the UK boys. That's what we like to see.
Yeah.
Now, of course, yesterday we talked to Nick A30, and he talked about he wanted the Infinity Blade back in competitive. Now, I wanted to ask you, what items do you want to see in competitive Fortnite? Is there anything that you might have, maybe a new item suggestion, or anything that you'd like to see?
So I've thought long and hard about this. Obviously, with me, you know, being mainly in zero build competitive, I've always thought the smoke grenade could be great to bring back. You know, being great for if you need some quick cover, you need to get a revive, or you know, make a rotation. You know, things like that in zero builds. You've got to have cover, you know. So I've always thought smoke grenade could be really good to see next season, hopefully. But overall, I would definitely love to see the hunting rifle make a return. I don't know, it's a touchy one, so people would want it, some people wouldn't, but I'd love it.
I really believe that you were going to say Infinity Blade. I was going to be like, all right, Merles, we'll catch you later. No.
Nick A30 is crazy. No.
Hey, you said it. Merle, for all the fans out there, where can we find you?
I'm at Merle on everything, mainly Twitch. Always playing with viewers and having the craziest time, always.
Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of the games. We'll catch you later.
Will. See ya.
There you go. Just again, we just like to tap into the community, see how they're enjoying the games, catch up with them. But we have to focus back. 3 games left to go. The pressure could not be more intense. It's palpable. You could cut it with a knife or an Infinity Blade. Thoughts?
As far as pressure is concerned, all of these players know how to deal with it. It's really whether or not they can continue to find the consistency to actually get those placements that they need in order to close it up.
It's all about that consistency, but if you don't have consistency right now, all that matters is these last 3 games. If you're lower down the leaderboard, just make them wins, please. That'd be amazing.
That's right. Nick A30 yesterday did say, just do what you do, right? So now is the time, because we need to do what we need to do, and that is kick off game number 4 of the FNCS.
All this talk about pressure just reminds me of something I said yesterday. It does one of 2 things. It either makes you crumble into coal or makes you shine bright like a diamond. I think a lot of these players are diamonds in the making.
Yeah, I think we've seen that from some of the players you've seen. Of course, when you look at the leaderboard, it's clear who the real diamonds have been today, right? When you look at Kami and Vanyak, how they've performed, the question will be, can they hold on to this position? Going into the back end of the competition, there certainly is potential for that.
Yeah, last game going down a little bit earlier than we have hoped, but I think the rest of the lobby took that as an opportunity to kind of make up for points, make up for lost time. So I could see if they go down early, it opens up the gate wide open for anybody to try to make a chance for that top spot, but the battle bus is ready. Game number 4. We're now past that halfway point. And like our analyst said, depending on where you're at in the leaderboard, you might need 3 straight victory royales. You might need some big elimination games to kind of match it all. And kind of you already see after those first early games coming out on top, T'Challa and Ark now have their uncontested spot.
Yep, don't have to worry about players looking to push them out of this one. They're actually playing in their first weekly final today, and so not too shabby for first-timers. Hard finding Mighty Pelican. They're going to continue to put in the work here against the Frenchies, and Clement, even though he will put up a fight, is just no match for them here. And Merle was talking about back in the UK, boys. Of course, those two are UK duo, so I'm sure they'll have his support in that Osborne battle.
And the third party is just dealing more damage than the actual players themselves. As Romic is going to be by himself, trying to play a little bit ring around the rosy towards the low ground, letting everybody else do the damage. While he tries to buy some time, only 1 build really to work with, popping the big pot. Get as much shield and HP as he can before he begins to farm and try to put himself into a better spot.
Scarred and Hellfire. Who I think definitely would like to have some better end games in terms of just seeing them in their element at maximum capacity, maximum power. We've sort of had to see lesser versions of themselves as they've ended up in these situations rather splintered. Maybe one person playing as a solo. They can both make it to endgame as a duo. That will be key, and of course, picking up eliminations like this one earlier in the game is the roadmap to doing so.
And looking at the loot that they split, they desperately needed to chase that one down. Grab some resources before they go on their path. Kami and Vanyak, a healthy lead between them and the rest of the pack. It's all about consistency. Can they keep it up? As Blacha and Mixon already got a knock on the one. Mixon takes a huge amount of damage. Danger Hero trying to get him back up, but it's not enough. Doesn't get the time needed to let it really play a role. As Blacha's really trying to think, how weak is this player? Gets the Siphon, gets as many of the mats and resources as possible. Medkit is going off into the distance. Blacha knows somebody is healing on the other side, trying to break through the covers, but the Medkit goes off either way. Now Blacha's trying to bait out the res, and it works to perfection. He's able to trade shots. Dande on the other side doesn't know what's coming as Blacha's now trying to play aggressive. He's trying to finish what he started, but not getting too greedy. That's going to be the key for a situation like this.
Yeah, Blacha's just going to have to get out of there, it seems. Too great of a situation for him. T'Challa and Ark, of course, not contested or spawn, and so gonna look to find solutions to dealing with Storm Surge in other ways, and this is one of them.
I was wondering why you would disengage a situation like that, landing a good shot, knowing your teammate is only knocked. Well, he saw T'Challa and Ark make their entrance in here, and he's actually going for the res on the other side, with just a sliver of health left on Mixon before he went down altogether. Blacha is going to be a huge hero if he's able to get this off as T'Challa tries to build height, spotting him out. That one's not going to come through. The res is going to be finished, and a second chance at life is going to be given for Blacha and Mixon.
Well, is that really going to matter, right? Yeah, it might just be an extra limb for them to pick up now that he's been revived, because T'Challa and Ark are just outmatching these guys right now, and so I'm sure they'll be very glad that he got the revive off, because it meant that they got to pick up an extra limb that they wouldn't have had otherwise.
And it's great for them to read the situation, knowing they were no longer contested. They weren't going to get the early game fight, so that means they weren't going to get the surge, so they went hunting for it. So great for them, taking control of their own destiny. As Flixie and users trying to sneak up on X-Squeeze and Podesai, looking like they're just trying to disengage out of this situation, farm up as much of Brutal Bastion as possible. But they're so separated right now, 11. It's going to be a scary sight because it does look like they have the angle. The 2v1 onto X-Squeeze. Feel a nightmare brewing. Podesai gets spotted out in the distance, and that's where they know they have solidified where both of these players are actually positioned as the shots begin to fire in. Very little is going to be landed, but at least an attempt was made.
Yeah, Flixie going to look to line up the shots here and able to connect. Look, that is a difficult weapon to use. Speaking from my own personal experience, whenever I pick up a DMI, I instantly drop it because I'm no good with it. And Flixie not able to connect with it either.
Hey, sometimes you gotta take what you can get, use whatever you can find. And a nice switch up here. No Riley, end the deal. Almost looks like it's uncontested. Not too many teams around them, no eliminations on their name. So it's a good opportunity for them to have that big day we were looking for, as long as they can consistently make it off of spawn. We know how dangerous they could be towards the end game. Moran and Paco can say the same. 154 points up until this stage, looking for that early game surge before they continue to rotate to the zone.
Moran and Paco, of course, we've seen how impressive they've been in the latter stage of the game. We've not been able to follow much of what they've been doing prior to that, but taking a look at things, really got things somewhat in check.
I like it. They're just taking what they can get. A lot of players in this situation know that the possibility of a drastic zone later on, third, fourth, could come to fruition, so they're trying to prepare as early as possible. For Vanyak and Karmi, a lot of that preparation has led to their first place position on the leaderboards, 217 points, but he continues to trade for shots. Danger Hero getting his HP back up. Not too much to worry about, but for Marco, can't say the same. He gets dropped to Deoxy and Mappy, who a few weeks ago looking like one of the biggest threats on EU, trying to refine their footing here in this final week as they get not one, but two of those eliminations.
You can see Diox. I was bigging him up earlier in terms of just being a force when he's hitting shots, and the kind of shots he can hit, taking out Marco there. Look who we have here. Using Vino, who's starting off the day so hot. Fortunately, haven't quite been able to keep up that pace. They are still in the top 10 though, which is good. And one of the few teams to pick up multiple VRs in all 3 qualifying weeks. And so that in itself is a big accomplishment. Of course, we know we're going to see them for sure in the FNCS final. The question is whether or not in today's session they can perform at that same game 1 level. Because if they do, because their spot's already solidified, it will just make things so much awkward for other players, right, who have hopes of making it in.
You can see they're just trying to capture the Frenzy Fields, POI, get themselves extra loot, spot out any other enemies that might be in that position. For X-Squeeze and Podesai, we saw them rotate early out of Brutal Bastion, trying to get themselves a nice spot into the zone as it continues to move towards the west side. Get tagged up just a little bit, but not too much to worry about. Nobody's able to close the distance just like that. Try to finish that one off for X-Squeeze and Podesai. They have max brick, max metal already, so it's just farming the trees.
Farming the trees. Back to the basics of Fortnite, aren't we? Slow-mo and Tuna here. Looks like they're looking for Surge here in the way they've set up, but there aren't many players in this general area. So they're going to have to start moving to zone if they want to start dealing with that. Over towards Vidil, who's in a similar situation based up here. Unfortunately for us, we have the wonderful Mini Miner, who has an update for us on what these guys have been up to.
Thank you, Levin. Now, we know how big of a day of a deal a no really needs, so they're actually pulling out all the stops off spawn here to make sure that they are safe to loot. We saw Vidil right here using the capture point to ensure that he is safe in this area, able to loot himself all the loot that he wants. And of course, something that we haven't seen too much of, he actually uses the upgrade station to take that red dot AR from gray to blue. So something we haven't seen too much.
Thank you, Mini Miner. From the pre-show to the mid-game, the man does it all. Making sure we don't miss a moment of the action as Vexy and Dabul end up taking down User, who got caught out by himself. You can kind of see his teammate just trying to get out alive. Anything is better than nothing, even if it means playing this one out as a solo. But Vexy and Dabul using the Shockwave Hammer, trying to close the distance, catch up to Flixie before it's too late.
Yeah, you can see just how fast-paced they're moving into his direction, and that's going to force him to sort of move away now. Chase will continue. Vexy, they want it. Need some chunk smashes to get the HP back up. But they know where Flixie is, and they're going to deal with him swiftly. Double headshots there. Connecting. Nicely done from Vexy.
Gave him a little haircut right there. That's all he really saw was the top of the dome, and he just cut it clean off. Gave him a nice new fade. Sent him right back to the lobby, though, so he could check it out in the mirror. As Marion and Paco, you saw them coming off of a fresh fight. Luckily for us, we see the replay exactly how it came to be as Marion just W keys directly in, lands a clean shot, taking down both Ludwig and Albie. That's a huge duo to take out of the game this early.
Yeah, especially because of how powerful we know they can be. You want to be taking out your best competitors early on if you can.
And now we're on a treasure hunt. Peely's plunder in the inventory. Looking for even better loot than they already have. And for Chawa and Joker, they have at least something, a tactical mythical pistol. So you can possibly see them dropping one of their slots to try to pick up a Shockwave Hammer if it does come around. But for them, they're just trying to beeline it to zone, go towards the north, then move west, try to go to the least congested side, and then maybe take height from there to find the tag they need for Storm Surge. But they had a speed bump along the way, high ground in front, team taking shots at them from behind. They're stuck in a peculiar situation, trying to think outside of the box to survive.
They have to get creative here, because if not, they might run into some troubles as the zone starts to close even more and more. Of course, we saw them win, playing on some of those lower layers. And part of that will be having better materials. You can actually top your way through the moving zones, and they currently don't have that, and so if they can't farm it up now, they might have to just fight for it. Tripping and Scram. Obviously, you've seen them come close in a couple of these games now, and to be fair, we did big up them needing a big day. They have certainly performed at a high level, but here in this game, need to up it a bit as they are barely above that surge line. Just 10 above right now.
And you saw him like kind of look at his augment choices, immediately put him away. Try to imagine what he's saving for later. Hellfire and Repsguard not saving much for later because they're under siege, under pressure from different directions. Coupe and Cade are going to be the team try to force them into the bad spot. The shots continue to fire back. Repsguard will not go down without a fight. And now he knows that those players are weak, and he's continuing trying to move forward, even though he's already 850 above the damage threshold. He realizes it's not worth the chase. They're already in zone. Spreads out, builds himself a little bit more real estate before he returns with Hellfire to make sure they're both up to 200 HP and shields, or as close to it as possible.
Yeah, and I think many other teams in that situation maybe would have just tried to be a bit more aggressive, but like you highlighted, right, when you're so up above on Surge, your loot isn't too bad either. Do you have to play uber aggressive, or do you just look to play a bit more conservatively? Okay, so those two, they chose the latter, tripping and scrammed up, using that ridge, the side of the mountain, just to rotate in to the zone unseen. But once again, we'll have to make a decently long journey to make it into the next zone. I'm actually looking to go back into the storm, it seems.
Now Trippin might have gotten separated from Scram, trying to find them a spot in his zone, but Scram still somehow finds himself an elimination onto Hydro in a situation like that. When push comes to shove, those are important moments for a duo like this. Not only do they need the Surge, they're still below those, so the job is not done just yet. They're getting struck down right before our very eyes. Fast Roki's trying to get out. It was his teammate that we lost. Wonks is there nearby as well. Everybody fighting tooth and nail, but Tripper and Scram are the only actual duo here in this situation, still being affected massively by Surge as it continues to click in. He has 3 big pots, but does he have the time to use them as his health is just being dwindled down low? 14 HP. The time the big pot is done and gone. He knows he's going to get knocked, passing over as much of the resources as possible. Chug Splash is coming in the nick of time for Scram to try to save the day, but it's just not enough. Storm Surge gets the last knock as Wox not only does it, staying alive, finishes off Scram and survives what was not only a 1v2, but possibly a 1v3 or even a 1v4 before that.
Yeah, and that last shot was going to be one of the easiest Scram, or I should say Wox will hit all day. See there him picking up the Strokey. Nice couple of elims there for the Sweden. Maybe some hope moving forward in this game.
Setting and Cammy, a few moments ago, they were in the highest point. You saw it was actually Tripper and Scram trying to rotate right underneath before they changed their trajectory altogether. Setting and Cammy knowing the zone, where it's pulling, trying to get there before everybody else, especially since it's going to continue to move north in a position like this to where that southern portion of the actual zone is going to get stacked. It's going to be hard for anybody to try to late rotate through, especially if they don't have some sort of mobility, a launch pad, shockwave hammer. Anything is better than nothing at a situation like this, but a team that doesn't have to worry about it. They already got themselves the sweet spot. And on the southern portion to continue to terrorize the lobby, it's Vaniac and Carmi.
Carmi taking shots from afar, even with that pistol looking to try and apply pressure. You can see the cluster and the mess taking place here in the zone as players are struggling to make their move. Hellfire and Refsguard getting caught in that. The launch pad though will allow them to get out when needed.
Perfect timing, but you gotta be careful. It's a blessing and a curse. Refsguard taking some shots, trying to get there. His position is gonna be given up to T'Challa and Arc. We're gonna find tags, build that cushion when it comes to Storm Surge. You can already see the plan intact. Shockwave hammering, trying to get themselves the rest of the way there. But a team that has these north zones, like to play towards the slow side, that's Queasy and Vino, with very few players contested on this side of the map. It looks like they're on the hunt for information.
Yeah, actively scouting and searching. I think we all want to see these guys have a bit better of a game, have a chance to actually play for height in the way they like to play it. Of course, the last couple of games that they've been taken out, they've not been able to soar up to the skies. We'll see, we have Paco on our screens who's gonna fight here. Gets the finish into Cade and to do it again, drops the cone down and that forces the opponent. He didn't seem to have any mats. Oh, he did have a bunch of mats actually, so that's gonna
max.
Yeah, cap Paco off, which will allow him to at least stay in this game just that bit longer and build where necessary.
It's gonna be great opportunity for Paco to really show what he's made of in terms of a solo. For X-Squeeze and Podesai, early rotations proving to be a huge part of their success here in these games. Getting out of Brutal Bastion before everybody begins to rotate in because of those static launch pads. If you don't get a Shockwave Hammer, you kind of look at that as the POI. Kind of rotate through. Frey and Clownski finding at least one elimination along the way, but they know it's not about getting eliminations early. It's about playing patient throughout the rest of the game. Those opportunities will naturally present itself as this one does progress. They hold that ultimate height, trying to figure out and catch somebody off guard when it comes to that red eye assault rifle. Nobody really crossing their path though without building.
Tower and Joker. They have now a decision to make if they make their way on in. And as strong as they looked last game, things aren't looking too amazing for them here in this one. And so we're going to have to see some heroics, some of their best plays be made if they are to keep a foothold in this game. Of course, they spot Kyrie and Ping just in front of them. So they'll wait for them to make a mistake potentially. Krusty and Rovis just up above as well. Janice and Reason, they're in this one. And they have some catching up to do.
64 above the damage threshold when it comes to Surge. Build themselves a little bit of stability in their game. As everyone kind of gets smashed closer together, the opportunity to kind of pop a box at a moment and land a big shot is there. All I have to do is keep as much height as possible. When these zones begin to move, if it goes up and down the different elevations over water, for some, they're gonna have to expend a lot to hold on to that position. As we move over to those different elevations I was talking about, so anybody already there has a huge advantage at a moment like this.
Nico and Kylie, maybe one of the first opportunities we get to see them have a big game here as a duo. That would certainly be nice, especially since we know how much power they possess, how much talent they have. For Vanyak and Kami, maybe a chance to remind everybody of why they're currently the team that is sitting in first place.
Fast stroking Clown. You can hear the Falcon Scouts going off as well.
The Frey and Clown. Of course, we talked about how big of a day they need to have. One of the teams that just needs a bit more in terms of series points for their season to continue. Not having the brightest of starts, but again, they have this game and the last remaining two after to really make their mark. So keep a close eye on them. We'll see if they have the ice in their veins to clutch up here.
And Kyrie and Pings are down on Surge. Setty and Cammy are well above. That passive game plan through and through, setting themselves up for end game after end game. One of the most consistent teams that we have here on the region. Finding themselves spot, trying to find some safety, become the focus of the lobby, trying to expend the resources to go ahead and stop the focus. It's gonna work for now, as they find themselves a little stability here in this game as Queasy and Vino, you can see them stacked up on resources time and time again. Their management is just insane.
Yeah, and the zones have been a lot more generous to them in this game, and obviously working with a Shockwave Hammer, max materials, a bunch of chug splashes. This is very much setting up to be a classic game for them where things just all seem to go in their way. I would not be surprised to not just see them do well, but see them win the whole game out. For Reason and Janice, maybe we can't see that far into the future for them, because right now in the present, they have to deal with Surge. They are 77 below. They don't have shields to out-heal it. So they have to start doing something and fast.
Looks like their plan right now is to use the Bush Warrior to try to out-heal Surge with only a few players needing to go down. 77 below. They're trying to land the shots on Malibuca, get caught out from the high ground. Reason trying to fire back, but opportunity is certainly closing. Still 191 and below the threshold and continuously falling. Trying to shockwave to the front side of zone. Anything is better than nothing in a situation like this, as the Reason continues to move forward. Running out of resources as well, so the Siphon going to be necessary in the refresh for multiple reasons. Other than just Surge, as he reunites with Janice, the plan probably going to be to continue to shockwave in and probably pop some shots while they're flying through the sky.
Yeah, this is one of the worst positions you want to see a team in. They will need something out of the back pocket that really impresses if they have any hope in this game. Reason going down there to Malibuca in the feed. Queasy though, doing exactly what I said I expected to see them do, playing for height with everything that they had available to them. It was only a matter of time. It was the inevitable. They are inevitable in this lobby. Kami and Seti running low on materials, and so gonna have to start thinking about how they get a refresh. Of course, that hammer though will give them a bit more time to think about that. And so Janice now is a solo. We talked about Reason being down. What can he cook up?
We've seen him from game one get a second place finish as a solo, trying to mimic that same type of plan as he's trying to pop some shots. as a player flying through the distance. Shockwave Hammer, blessing and a curse for some. Malabuka and Thomas making it here towards the end game into the top 15. Multiple ways of rotation in terms of Shockwave Hammer and Chili Chug Splashes. And you see the lay of the land. Queasy and Vino, who would have guessed it, have the high ground for now. As long as they make it to the end game, that's one thing you could definitely place your bet on. But who is going to be daring enough to challenge them? That's a question I'm asking myself over and over.
Yeah, you can see Malabuka and Thomas though in between everybody else. And right now, they are just a powerhouse rolling through teams. Currently in the zone, Malabuka's picked up one. And so that's going to be Mappy that he takes out. Can he get back into Storm? He wants to use that Chili Chug Splash. Going to give him that extra bit of mobility, but as he waltzes his way on in, he's going to suffer at the hands of the rest of the lobby. Will group back up with Thomas. And so hopefully now they can start to recoup and get back to their fighting ways. Seti and Cammy finally finding that refresh they so needed. And a chance now to get back in the game for them. The extra materials have got a long way. If Cammy can stay up, which it doesn't seem like he'll be able to do, and so it's all on Seti, or with time ticking and the med mist running thin, I do wonder whether or not he'll be able to really make an impact in this game, especially with players watching him. Just a 5 HP, 60 full shields. Can Seti stay alive?
Not even close, not at all. He has more than enough for a championship caliber player like this, but you can kind of see the different elevations. Vino and Queasy have that recipe, have the game in their hands. It's going to take a great mistake and a daring effort to try to knock him down, but Seti's up for the challenge. Continues to move forward, staying ahead of everybody that is on the low ground, trying to spot anybody going for the loot. Spots out Fire Hunter, unable to land the shots that matter most. Still looking though, not giving up. Spots another player, but gets caught on the reload. Clownski and Frey trying to do the same thing, getting that piece control to go over. This is going to go up the mountain just a little bit, and where this next zone pulls, Levin, is so drastic for everybody's end game.
Yeah, well, with all that's going on between all these layers, you just look at it and think to yourself, it doesn't really matter, because right now, Queasy and Vino stand to win. They stand to take it all. But even then, for some of these players who just maybe want to try to get as many points as they can, Frey and Clown finally going down, and still a very serviceable game for them in terms of their ambitions in this tournament. But right now, things are getting a lot quieter down below. Players are running thin, running low. Janice may just clash heads with Seti here eventually, but before that, he wants to try fight for height, just to see if it's possible. I don't think he realizes who it is up there, because if he did, he maybe wouldn't have made that play. Seti will finally pick him up before Vino drops down and closes out the game. A little repeat there of some of the stuff we saw at Invitational, a fight between those two titans, but this time things swinging in the other way. It's Queasy and Vino picking up their second game of the day.
They already got their spot in Grands. They're just playing for bragging rights, playing to terrorize the rest of the lobby. But for Janice and Reason, it's a must to have these moments. Absolutely necessary for their success. Another top finish for them. But Queasy and Vino, man, the story is being told game after game, week after week. Probably the favorites to take it all when it comes to the finals.
Hey, look, I don't want to be that guy that, is constantly bragging about, predicting everything correctly. But I did say that we're going to win the game, and they went on to win the game. But it's because when they have that setup, when they have hammers, when they have materials, when they have favorable zones, it is just the easiest recipe for success we might have seen in any iteration of competitive Fortnite.
Yeah, and they have such a stranglehold on the lobby. I know our analyst broke it down in the pre-show, the differences of when they're in the late game on height and when they're not. There's nobody even challenging them late in the game when it's the final 10. They just are smooth sailing to finish after finish.
And look, we talked about the analysts breaking down their play. They get the chance to do it again. So Zeke, take it away.
Thank you so much, my friends. Really quickly, let me introduce Vivid. And of course, Jenny Smiles will be helping us call all the action between games for the last couple here in EU. My gosh, Queasy and Vino, they decide what's better than one victory out. Let's make it two. But there was a reason they were set up for success, wasn't there, Vivid?
There are a lot of reasons, but reason number one, the primary one, is actually going to be that they had forecast this game. I saw them when that fourth zone was coming in, fifth zone popped. I saw them pinging on the map where that half zone was actually going to be, and instantly that game was so harsh on a lot of these teams. So when fourth zone was actually in, it was only Queasy and Vino and one other team actually in that fourth zone. So they had a free rotation over to that half and half zone. And of course, they had forecast, so they knew exactly where to go for it.
And yeah, that's a good point. With the forecast, we know how amazing that augment can be, especially for teams like this that are so height dominant. If they have forecast, you know that they're going to be one step ahead of some of the other teams that don't, and they're going to plan accordingly to make sure that they can take height.
And the key point that I really like about how they actually played when they got into fifth zone is instead of going for high ground immediately, they actually stayed on the low ground and created that huge tarp when we tuned into them, right? And the reason they were able to do that is because there were so many rocks and trees around them that they just had such this great large tarp that actually when they went into the end game, they were completely full on material. So I really like that adjustment out of them.
That's right. We take a look at the standings. Remember, there's a few key duo here that really need to place a top 10 if they want to continue their FNCS journey. Vanya, Carmi, they're still sitting at the top, but that lead is now quickly growing smaller as Queasy and Vita decide, you know what, let's just get closer. Let's just make that gap a little smaller.
Listen, the race is on for sure. I mean, only 25 points, and if it's Queasy and Vito on your trail, you got to be a little bit worried, right?
You love stuff like this when it's neck to neck and you're like, who's it gonna be? And are we gonna continue to be consistent? Are we gonna be capable of making it and staying in this place? Or are another team's gonna sneak in and take the place? I love that though. It's something to look forward to into these next games.
Yeah, for sure. Malabuka, Thomas, another duo that really has to put on a show today, right? I mean, they only have 2 games left to go, but I think they can do it.
Yeah, game number 4, I mean, this play right here, completely waiting for Mappy and Dox, kind of look for an opportunity on other players. They realize that they're not actually looking at their back, so Malabuki instantly pounces and gets a quick and easy refresh for them. So 4 eliminations going in this. But I want to highlight right here. Look at this. We have 13 players alive. This looks like, you think it's like the last zone, right? No, this was the 8th zone. And that's just because those zones were so brutal on a lot of
There
teams.
definitely were, but something I do like and I wanted to point out is the fact that they're very methodical in their movements. They plan accordingly, and they make sure they had no, like, not many mistakes in that. You know, they would continue to get quick edits and all their shots were spot on. So if they can continue to not make those mistakes, they're going to continue to move up.
That's right. Once again, right now, top 10 is looking good. I mean, even someone like Tripper and Scram, right? We know they have to really do well today, and they're kind of still in that top 10. They haven't fallen out yet, but once again, the story just always comes back to the same thing, consistency, right? If we're not careful, we will make a mistake, and we potentially fall out of that top 10. I don't want to be in that situation.
No, I wouldn't either. And another team that I'm looking at, Janice and Reason, also doing well to make sure that they stay in the top 10. They need to get about top 20 today to make sure that they get that auto qualification in the grand final. So it's great to see them doing well. They do have 2 games left, but the way they've been playing today, I think they're pretty solid. And Jenny, we got to talk about Seti and Cami, kind of just creating new strategies every single game. The past 3 games, you keep carrying that Falcon Scout into the end game.
Yeah, they are. And something I do love about Cami and Seti is the fact that they are so willing to change up their playstyle depending on who's in the lobby currently, what they know what they're capable of, and they honestly can do it all. I love that about them. They can take height if they want to. They can play that low ground. They can play mid. They can do a little bit of everything, and that's what I think makes this team so versatile.
And whenever I tune into these highlights, right, I always like to immediately look at the eliminations and see kind of how many eliminations they got to get this far into the end game, because we know that eliminations are such a big part because of the refreshes, the resources that you need. But I have no idea how Cami and Seti can consistently get very low eliminations and just make the end game every single time. They're just so good. And that zone was not that easy of a rotate for them either.
I know, man. That's why they went on to win FNCS Invitational that just happened, right? So,
yeah,
like
they're
just
good.
Yeah, they're good. Not a big deal. But this is why we continue to harp on these duos, right? There's just so much talent in EU. So many different duos that are performing well. So many that we know are grand finals worthy, but still, that mountain is quite steep.
Yeah, I like the fact that you kind of mentioned mountain right there. I feel like the big thing about EU right now is that wherever the zone kind of pools, they always love to just build either on top of mountains, on top of the Citadel, or just build their own mountain, right?
They really have
always build up and kind of just control the entire lobby and kind of make them go around them, which kind of creates all these congested areas of the zone, which is why that game right there was one of the toughest ones we've seen.
I know that we point out in some of those Storm Surge segments that they have been building, again, like those tall castles, but it's continuously, it's
There's one up there.
Yeah, and it's like, look, you are, again, not getting past me. Like, I have a bird's eye view of everything. It's like they're their own Falcon Scout. They can see it all. And so I just love that. It's been amazing to see them. And it takes care of Storm Surge. I need to do that. I'm going to take that and use it in my own gameplay.
She's learning, you know, she's getting in that competitive mindset. We love to see it.
You know what else I love to see? More games. That's right. With only 2 games left, how will this all unfold? We'll get ready. This is game number 5.
Game number 5 with just 2 opportunities remaining for these players to change their destiny. The penultimate game, the one that really sets things up for game number 6, but nevertheless, a very interesting round of games to come.
Man, I keep saying it with Queasy and Vino staying in the lobby, taking high ground game after game. I think this is a perfect opportunity for players to practice contesting them for the high ground. We haven't seen it yet, but there's still time.
Hey, look, I think the big thing, if you are some of these teams, I think we've started to see some of them pick things up, right? The likes of Frey and Clown, who we said we wanted to see start to do better. They made it really deep into that game, a very impressive performance. Can they keep that up? Can they start to solidify themselves when it comes to the series points needed to make it to, you know, Surgery quarterfinals?
Yep, Battle Bus is ready. Game number 5 is about to be underway, and you continue to talk about the series points needed to try to secure their spot in either Surge Week or finals at the end of the day. You got to give it up one more time for Janice and Reason, who have been playing out of their minds with their backs up against the wall. Really proving these zones don't matter, because you've seen them travel literally across the map in one game or another. T'Challa and Arc, once again, uncontested, fought for the right to make that be a possibility. But everybody else still going through it game after game. Excalibur shot towards the backside. That's going to be a huge tag for Hellfire. Really thinking outside of the box. Floor loot is floor loot. You got to take advantage no matter what you get. I think that both of those eliminations as well. Ref Scar's chased down the other one. That's how you secure a fight in a moment's notice. It's Magbron and Donde going up against Mixon and Blacha once more. Mixon just trying to reunite with Blacha, who has the high ground. A little bait and switch, but he takes so much damage. He's going to have to use a couple of seconds to try to heal. Next couple of seconds, Mixon ends up in a 1v2 situation. Trade for trade, knock for knock. And this is where it really is going to come down to, did Mixon have enough heals, or to say Blacha, to have enough heals to really fight this off?
Really nicely done, of course. We're getting to crunch time, right? So we want to start making these games count. But for Blacha, he obviously has the exact same mindset. He doesn't want to allow this rift to happen, and he actually will stop it, which is brilliant timing from him. If he can just keep this a 1v1, that would be great for him. So he's going to continue again to apply that pressure. And just being an annoyance there for Mag.
4 shots. 4 opportunities. Now he's down to only 2, but that's all it's going to take. With 1 left in the heavy, he finishes that one off and able to pick Donde back up and get them right back into the mix.
Well executed, staying cool and composed, but this is something that has changed hands a bit here. Of course, we've seen Hardfind win this fight more times than not, but the Siptos coming in clutch here in game number 5 and winning the battle for the Frenchies.
T'Challa and Arc, once again, uncontested. They don't like it. They don't like it at all. They want that early game surge. They want to be able to rotate freely in towards the mid game, get themselves a spot in the zone. So just like last game, they're trying to take advantage of a team that doesn't have uncontested. They're fighting for every single bit of loot, every single resource that they have, and you can see them just silently and patiently waiting towards the top. So as soon as they leave the house, that's when they're going to try to put the damage down.
We see them try and make these sort of patient third-party plays, and it worked out for them in their favor last game. This time round, using the DMR from long range, not really able to connect with anything significant. It's Janice and Reason now in a fight here over towards Breakwater Bay. We know how scrappy these fights can get. Nobody really has much to work with in these sorts of battles, and so a lot of the time relying on just your raw aim and your creativity and mantling up and creating new angles.
Charge is taking that moment, getting up and over. Geras doesn't have a shockwave, but he definitely has the shields to try to get himself up. So this duo is really going to have to dig deep, figure out what they're going to do here in a situation like this, because when it comes to loot, when it comes to full-on advantage, that goes to Reason and Janice. A cheeky shot, trying to be fired. That one's not going to connect. They have a 2v1 situation. That's all they need is time. They're able to get the knock on the one. Now they have a 2v1 situation yet again, but it's Char who had that shockwave hammer, so it's not going to be as easy as you think.
It won't be easy, but no fight against Reason is ever easy.
Just trying to catch up for now. They looted everything that they can at their landmark. And now they're trying to go forward into their loot path, find some scraps along the way as Tayson and Murstache from Slappy Shores moving outside of the POI, trying to finish a fight that seemingly they started with Murstache already having 1 elimination. Tayson trying to play a defensive end. He knows shots are coming in from all directions, not just the player that they're fighting right in front of him. Cover gets stolen at the high ground yet again. Back-to-back piece control going on over to Harko and Clone. We're third-partying this, trying to gather as many points as possible, take advantage of the situation, climb up the leaderboard, gather those series points, and hopefully make it as far as they can and not let their FNCS run come to an end as they find that elimination on the Mustache.
Yeah, a bit of a surprise there, right? Tasting the Mustache with how well they've been playing. To see them go down so early against that opposition will certainly be a big surprise. And as good as they've been, they always seem to have one game where they do just have a bit of a slip up, a hiccup per se. And so hopefully we see them return even stronger in game 6. There are some more important stories to follow along though. Maybe some more important dance battles happening all across the map. For the side over here, picking up a nice little win at Brutal Bastion, which is exactly how he was able to do it.
Wow.
Yeah, that calls for celebration, I guess, hence the emoting.
And a switch up from some previous games where if they don't necessarily like the loot that they have very, very early on, they try to disengage out, pay a little bit for the long haul. This time around, taking that fight right out of the gates. Probably got some good floor loot and an early shot advantage, but who knows? Seti and Cammy setting themselves up. We've seen this all too many times where you just build the tower in the sky, throw that big bush bomb down, make it hard for anybody to kind of counter your fire that's dishing out over and over. Ref's Guard and Hellfire, an early fight, allowing them to claim 2 different spots on the land. Everybody really trying to put it all to the test. This is the last 2 games.
Yeah, the last 2 games, the last chances to really make the points count, make things stick. Of course, we know all these players fighting for series points. Some of them already have enough to solidify a spot in the FNCS finals. The ones who don't, it's all about making that happen now in these last 2 games. Trippin and Scram, who you've been following closely, have started to slip a bit in terms of their performances. Still though, in and around that area where they can start to make a push now with these last 2 games if they can get back to their form of the earlier half. Flodax and Rifty. I feel like every time we see them at their best, it's in very scrappy mid-game fights where they are just picking off a team who's down low on Surge. Sometimes they're that team that's down low on Surge. So you see a fight here right now where they want to trade damage with Janice and Reason at the very least.
And for Janice and Reason, that's from one fight to the next, trying to keep their own show on the road, not slowed down, especially after that top finish in that previous game. 2nd place in game 1. Talk about players using that pressure as motivation. They're one team that does more than just that. As Malibuca and Thomas just looting up, finding what they want, continue on with their own journey. Queasy and Vino, after that last VR, their confidence has to be at an all-time high as they spot a team in the distance. The shots are going to be landed. 70 shield ripped right off of them as Vino just continues on his merry way like nothing ever happened. Uh-oh. Dio and Noah Riley in a great situation to take advantage of Hellfire, who seems like he's separated momentarily from his teammate, but finds his way back home. And I like this. Badil and Noah Riley realize what's at stake. This fight isn't worth everything. It's not worth the entirety of the game. They want to go ahead and continue to disengage, make it towards the ending portions, and try to pick up even more points.
Yeah, of course, they want to stop those guys in their tracks, but don't want to do it at the cost of their own success in this one. Joker and Pachawa, they know where it feels like to taste success in this game. They need to get back to that level. Currently not there.
Trying to replicate that success is hard. We got another zone pull. Luckily, it doesn't continue to go south. Not too much water is going to be in the mix, so a chance for players to really survive at a moment's notice as Tuna and Slow-Mo just holding off on their big pots for now. They still possibly have to gather Surge, rotate in through the rest of the game. So they want to make sure they have enough so when they get into position, when they get into zone, they can continue to trade off for those tags, just like Moran and Paco. But they're right at the edge of zone, trying to gatekeep everybody that comes in through the northeast.
And of course, Moran and Paco, you see them sitting up here. There are often a lot of teams in and around that 40 splits area, and so they want to try to get easy opportunities for Surge on those guys. Your Cammy and Seti up here, though, positioned high up in Frenzy. in a bush looking to get some surge. Fortunately for us, we have Mini Miner who has an update on them and their surge strategy. Mini, what you got?
Now, we've seen them do this so often. Seti all the way up inside of this base, able to use that Bush Warrior augment to keep himself alive and, of course, keep himself healthy while he's getting these Storm Surge tags. Of course, meanwhile, on the other side of the coin, Cammy is able to refarm some of the materials. You can see Cammy dropping Seti some materials there, and, of course, now he has to go down and refarm. He also has the Falcon Scout again, so maybe we'll see him use that later on. But great dynamics in this duo. Seti's getting the Surge, Cammy's getting the resources.
Another great breakdown from Mini Miner, the man who sees it all, letting us know. It's almost like they have a checklist of how they want to play the game. Loot up, check. Mat up, check. Get Surge. Finally check that one off as Hellsfire, Refguard, they're trying to check that one off their list as well as Queasy and Vino have eliminations that haven't been checked off this game. You know how hungry they can get when they feel they have a huge advantage over a duo. But luckily for Refguard and Hellsfire, they're going to try to disengage, live to fight another day, but tags are going to continue to follow from Vino. He has the choice to Shockwave Hammer, follow up, or just continue to play towards the end game, which he's going to actually choose the latter. Smart play as they realize everything that's at stake.
I think the good thing is for them in this game is even though the zone is pulled way south, they do have Shockwave Hammers, or at least the one on Vino, or one on Queasy as well. That will go a long way in allowing them to continue to play the way they have been playing so far today.
What a Cyanide squeeze from an off-spawn exchange at Brutal Bastion. Quickly trying to rotate into position. Getting that Shockwave Hammer to really play a huge role in that. There's so much action going down, including Janice and Reason, who's fight after fight that we keep talking about. They just have the hot hand. They're on a hot streak. And Reason, from solo Cash Cup victories to playing lights out in the finals. If this momentum keeps up on the day, the only thing that can kind of top off what they're doing now is a victory royale.
Yeah, Janice and Reason. I'm sure I know you've been a big fan of them. Waxing lyrical about them throughout the day, and rightfully so. Team who hasn't quite had the season we wanted to see from them, but here in this week 3 session, matching those kind of levels, people I think would have expected when this duo formed.
See him taking the pieces, placing a stair, quickly editing it, but 44 below the damage threshold. It's all about getting those different angles to try to continue to play aggressive at every turn. And for Mag and Donde, 864 above. And this is a situation that is going to show us, doesn't matter how much damage you are above the damage threshold, if a team is next to you and they're below, they're going to try to get in. But you have the advantage to play defensive. Try to hold your walls. The position is yours. Just can you hold on to it?
Holding on is one of the more difficult bits at times. Teams all around you, some even hungry to deal damage for Surge. What plays can be made? Janice and Reason find themselves in the midst of another fight. There's always a fight around the corner with these guys. Of course, the Germans hailed for their aggression in the past.
Not only a full team right above them. You got Delay close by. He's just waiting for an opportunity to catch somebody off guard. Possibly needs a refresh, judging by the lack of shields. Decent resources. Gonna go for the second player, trying to go ahead and sneak attack, gets the piece control. Not gonna be enough, but Childwood comes back, returns to the scene, tries to play hero for his teammate, and does just that, taking down Delay. 4 more points to their total. Not into the cascading placement points just yet. And they finally know and continue to know that Janice and Reason is right below them, who are not giving up. But it doesn't look like they want to get aggressive. Both of these teams look like they're just trying to make it to zone without fighting too much.
Yeah, and they're doing a decent job at that so far. Of course, you can see it running their way on in. Janice has got plenty of mats to work with, and they'll be able to refarm here on this building as well, and it is in the zone.
Top 32 here. You can already see the least contested north side, but Hellsfire and Refguard kind of been very parallel to Queasy and Fino throughout the last couple of minutes. But that's not a team you want to be that close with, but for Hellsfire and Refguard, trying to move up the leaderboards, trying to get themselves that top spot, top finish on the end of the day, build the confidence before grand finals. getting denied that piece control from Vino. Finally going to be able to break through, knocking down a few pieces. You can already see the Shockwave Hammer being taken out. Queasy and Vino have better plans, but he takes a huge tag right out of the sky. There's a sliver of HP to try to survive. And the third party being a heroic effort. Queasy's going to be the one taking huge advantage of that, getting the knock, but trades off so much damage. Danger Hero trying to keep him alive, well above the damage threshold. He's just waiting for his siphon to come through, tries to peek-a-boo. It ends up on the receiving end of a huge shot from Refsguard, who now could go backtrack in his place to try to get Hellfire back up.
That's rough if you're on the receiving end, but that is so good for Refsguard and Hellfire. They still have a chance in this game, still have a chance in this lobby. If you're Refsguard here, see the way he just played the angles so right. Not overexpose him by any means. Closing that one out nicely.
Luckily for Queasy and Vino, they got nothing to worry about. They're going to get a weak break for Surge, watch all the action, and then gear up for finals. Thomas and Malabuka, 600 above the damage threshold. Not too far to go before they're in zone, but they're going to continue to try to move as close to the center as possible. Try to build up this mountain before the shot's coming in. And this is one of those teams that knows the position they're in. You can't be that ultimate low ground, especially if a team's towering above you on the mountain, but from one fight to the next, taking that mojo away from Janice Ariza from the elimination. 5 eliminations so far. They don't want to get caught in this mess, but Refguard gets Shockwave to the outside of zone. Down goes Hellfire. Moneymaker going to take advantage of the situation, but he goes down altogether, unable to make it back in. All that effort, and they go down in their 5th game.
And that is going to be heartbreaking for any Danish Fortnite fans who are cheering for those guys, rooting them on. After picking up 2 big elims onto some of the best players in the lobby, unfortunately meeting their match and not able to get out of the storm. Army and Banyak, though, they'll be happy. Some of their biggest competitors taking each other out and being taken out allows them to just keep on working on the lead they have. We'll see if they can keep this level up when it comes to the latter stages of this FNCS major tournament. But when it comes to how they played today, certainly been formidable.
Just judging by the zone so far, obviously it's only the 4th one. This might be the calmest end game we're gonna get, and I'm using that very loosely because Shockwave Hammers and so many other chaotic players can cause destruction. But what I mean by that is it's not towards the north with the drastic elevation changes. A lot of smooth lands, a couple hills, a couple bumps here and there. But when it comes down to it, this is gonna be the best chance anybody has to try to take the game without the environment really playing a huge role. Into the top 25 we go, cascading placement points. Begin to set in as Cammy finds elimination onto Slove. It's not 5th zone yet, but that's where Seti and Cammy begin to shine the most. 5th zone and on, as Carmi takes a huge tag, trying to dish out the damage. Second guess that one, but luckily for him, he has minis, he has splashes, more than enough to get himself up to tip-top shape. Basically a waiting game for about the next 25 or so seconds. Zone closes, seeing where it pulls. You're going to force a lot of these teams to make some big decisions that's going to change up the rest of their game. Hopefully you're gathering as much information as possible before the zone pulls, so you know exactly what you're kind of going through. Snazy and Analyx have the low ground. Big bush bomb going down yet again. Doesn't want to give up any free shots to their opponent because they know this one isn't going to come easy as they're continuously trying to fight for those pieces that are above them. Drop that player down into their box, but I don't think they want to let that one happen too much. As that's Artie by himself, 258 above the damage threshold. Far pull, but most of the lobby is either already there, doesn't have far to go. But for those teams that are on the outside, I wish you good luck.
Good luck will certainly be needed. Malabuka needs plenty of luck now because he doesn't have Thomas. And he has a player, one wall against him, that's Cade now, looking to cause him some issues. Good thing is he does have some hope in the game with the shields he has to work with. And of course, that hammer always provides for something to be made.
195 above the damage threshold for Cade. It's just about survival, especially as a solo. Lost Coupe along the way, just like Malabuka lost Thomas. Everybody trying to waste no time, bypass. They know how long this journey is going to be. And for Cade and Malabuka, being a solo, this is where it's important to make the right decision. He spots out Malabuka trying to go, and he's following him.
Yeah, and look, Cade realizes he has to get to zone, but also wanted to just deal with Malabuka first and fight him. Malabuka had similar intentions, and so Cade opts now to just run into the zone. And on his way there, still having to deal with Malabuka on his back.
Still not in the zone just yet. A little bit farther to go as you see the tags coming in. Belusi is knocked. Can he get back up? Thanks to Vortexers, only time will tell as Moran and Paco wouldn't say they have ultimate high ground just yet, but they have an elevated position compared to everybody else in the lobby. And you can see them spot out that solo, trying to put that pressure on, trying to go ahead and break through the walls. And it leaves his player no other choice but the Shockwave Hammer around. And honestly, you see the shields getting dropped. 40 HP more. Possibly would have went down, but I believe that was Podeside that might live to tell the tale. He's also known for some clutch performances in games like this.
Yeah, a lot of the players left in the stage are known for their clutch abilities. Some of the best players in all of Fortnite still left in this one. Cade, if he wants to be renowned as one of those, will have to try again in game number 6. Here in game number 5, he's taken out Podeside with just the one build remaining. As good as the clutcher you might be, no builds at this stage in the game. Not even max HP either. This may be a challenge too big for him to overcome. He will need something magnificent to stay in the game. Mag actually walks right in front of him, and Mag actually will go down.
Fortunate turn of events, especially with how well they've been playing. Tripper and Scram playing pretty well themselves, but only 12 above the damage threshold. They realize it's not too much to go ahead and find that damage. Podeside under pressure. The wall is not his. Peeks a little bit too long. Tries to get the piece control to go over, but you spotted it yourself. Out of builds early on. Unable to really defend himself as Seti and Cammy here in 6 moving zone. Down in the dirt. That's usually where they shine, though. They like to claim the front side of the zone and continue to kind of hold everybody back.
Joker and Pachawa. They're starting to move on now. You know what they can do when they start claiming layers on low. Still so many teams left in this game that they'd have to deal with to get in a similar spot. Malabuka patiently waiting for Vortex to make a move on, and we'll take a shot at him as he makes his journey towards that next zone. Unfortunately, nothing materializes into any sort of a limb. Moran and Paco, they're trying to force a limbs to happen. Unfortunately, Paco is going to fall as a result of it. And so it leaves Moran in a cut situation with just the 3 builds. Paco isn't dropping anything for him, and so finally now able to pick something up, and will even pick up his teammate's loot as he finally falls to the storm.
Oh, that's going to be a huge shot. Tripper under siege, 3 HP in a dream. Doesn't really have a ton of time. All of his splash is going to be used in a situation like this, waiting for Scram to shockwave them both to the front side of zone. Not a ton of resources to work with. Going to be looking for some sort of a refresh or a siphon. High ground getting cycled around as well, with Seti and Cammy trying to make their way in. 7th moving zone. His team looking down low, looking all around. Bob and Weave trying to get themselves elimination that they know they have coming at a moment's notice. Joker and Prachow is not too far behind, and you can see the high ground with Queasy and Vino no longer here. That's scroll bot and tricked.
And Zone has pulled back, and so allow them to save a bit of materials, but also make it that much more awkward as teams start to move on through. The potential for them to get a limbs might just get a bit harder as everybody can hold on for just that bit longer. We're seeing players picking up a limb. Prachow will fall on the bottom right there, and that leaves Joker all alone in a cut situation. Cammy in a very similar spot, trying to regroup with Seti. So much going on in this lobby as Trippin finally falls in the hands of Joker. Even as a solo, he's making things happen, he's making plays, but he's getting knocked out. The shockwave hammer moving him every which way. He needs to try and connect. There's players beneath him, fights are breaking out. He needs to just reload, and he can't connect to the shot. Eventually gets wiped out.
That's going to be a big elimination there as Cammy continues to look down low. Everybody getting trapped down. He finds another elimination onto Trulex, getting themselves into the top 4. Everybody is duos except for one solo player, and that's going to be Clone as Seti and Cammy towards the backside. They get spotted out. The pressure is there. 2 different pistols trying to make sure they regret the decision of waiting that long. Solo is out. Cammy trying to go above and over to the front side of zone so that way he can bypass a lot of the chaos that he knows is coming around the corner as Trick drops down low. Shockwave hammer. He's going to regret that decision as he takes a huge tag and a lot of damage being ripped right off.
That was a huge exchange between both these teams. Funfish is gonna have to come down now as no materials and no HP means only one thing. You've got to think he's going back to the lobby, but a big shot onto City, and he's gonna get the finish. The Siphon's gonna come in clutch. It's gonna come in huge. Can he close things out now? Can he? No. Eventually falling. It's another 1v1. Can he do it? The Polish plow, he's got it up to this point so far, but needing to connect with just one more shot, and he will do it. Closing things out. We know he can hit clutch shots when needed, and doing that here in Game 5.
We talked about that checklist. Early game POI, check. Resources, check. Storm Surge, check. Make it through the madness, let's check that one off as well. Last thing they needed to hit for the home run, Victory Royale. But who would have guessed FNCS Invitational Champions dominating it again?
Well, I think you always expect to see these guys have an impressive game at some point. Seti, for a moment there, I was worried about how things were going to play out, but Cammy, the calm in all of the storm and all of the chaos, he never loses composure. That man is ice cold. I'm sure if we had his face cam on right now, we would not see any reaction at all after that one. That is just his nature. And a couple of nice clean edits to close things out. Brilliantly done as Seti and Cammy, the polls, show us why they were revered as one of the best duos in the land.
Yep, that resiliency is real. From a little bit of a stumble in previous weeks, back to where they know they can flourish the most. They got that first elimination in the 4th zone, but you know, 5th on is where they really strike, and man, did they put a hurting on the lobby.
And look, in all the craziness that we've seen across today's games, at least back to some normalcy, seeing Seti and Cammy win a game is something you always expect to see at some point in EU. Nevertheless, though, how does that impact the standings as we head into the final game? Only one person can tell us, is Zeke.
Man, oh man, the final game here coming up in just a little bit, but game 5 does not disappoint. It takes me back to the Invitational, right? The shot heard around the world coming out from Cammy to just close the door and say, no, this is my Victory Royale. Nice try. We take a look at the standings though. How has this all shaken things up for us? And I mean, after a performance like this, these guys are going to grand finals. There's no question.
Yeah, take a look at that leaderboard real quick. Vanya still holding on, but Cammy and Seti, we thought the race was between them and Queasy Vito, but no, Cammy and Seti now only 4 points behind. And again, just consistently getting into these end games and popping off. So smart in every aspect of the game. And oh my gosh, shout out to Cammy. That 1v1 at the end there, I love how he played that because he pulls out the Shockwave Hammer, right? And we've seen so many times this season, a lot of people go for those preemptive pre-fires, right? Like, oh, they're about to use the hammer, they're gonna go for the shot. So Trick was like, kind of got tricked himself, right? He's like, oh, he's gonna Shockwave Hammer, but no. Cammy makes the edit, controls the double edit, quickly goes for the shot right there, clean it up at the end. Just so clean.
It is honestly so clean to see that, and I love it because in instances like this, you have to really think, but it's so hard. Yeah, look. Oh man, he got it. Let's go. I loved it. It was so cool to watch during the actual game. But yeah, again, I think it's so cool. Like I just said, how versatile Cammy and Seti are, and they can do it all, and they always show up when it matters most. Like they're never count them out. They will literally do some crazy plays like this and be like, guys, don't forget, we're Cammy and Seti. Did you forget who we are? No, I just love to see that. And I think something also really awesome to mention is the fact that since they can play height, and they also know how to take height. And they do that very well. They can execute it. So they have the mindset of being able to do both. And they also know how to defend themselves in that instance and how to take it if they need to, if they're not playing that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, once again, this is why we had to highlight that duel, right? One of the highest caliber EU has to offer. Janice and Reason, a duo that we did talk about, has to be kind of above, right around that 21st mark at the end of the day. They're going into this last game in a very good position, top 10. However, it's not done, right? They have to at least put on one final game to make sure everything's good.
I mean, 7's looking pretty good, right? Like, we can almost write them out, but as Zeke's saying, you know, it's not done yet. And, you know, shout out to Janice right here, making that solo performance, because he is also aware, like, hey, listen, we need to do pretty good today. So let me make sure that I make my best effort using a Shockwave Hammer. I mean, look at his loadout right there. If you ever wanted to make a solo clutch, you'd be like, I want a Shockwave Hammer. I probably want some Chug Splashes and, you know, a gold Thunder Shock on the boot as well, and some mats as well. I mean, even held high ground as a solo for a little bit right here as well. So just
I love that.
Really well done from him to utilize everything that he had.
I was honestly just about to point out the loot that he had was amazing, and being able to use it during endgame was awesome. You see, he had some really good plays there. They weren't able to fully make it to a victory, but again, they have those eliminations, the placement, and those all count towards their final score.
That's right. We did also highlight Tripper and Scram there. We had a chance to talk to Scram at the beginning of the show, and you could just tell he was focused, right? And now they're looking to hold that top 10 because they are also another duo that has to perform well. However, I did really quickly want to mention they bumped up into the top 3 spot. Marine and Paco, once again, with just one game left to go, just put yourselves in the shoes of these duos. They are under some insurmountable pressure, and they have to be able to just set that aside and say, we have to just play some good Fortnite. And for these guys, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, only one game left, right? We are in the 3rd week here of the FNCS Weekly Finals. And as you can see here, Marine making sure that he kind of controlled high ground for a little bit here as well. And it was actually looking good for them, but not entirely sure what went wrong, right? They're finding the eliminations. 70 builds is pretty much enough materials to kind of hold it for a very long time. But the next time we actually saw them, they were just on the low ground. Marine down there as a solo. So again, not entirely sure what happened, but still, even though his duo went down, Marine's still putting on a heck of a solo performance.
I think that just shows, though, there are some teams that honestly can hold height a lot better than others. And in those circumstances, they might want to switch it up and be like, okay, we'll hold height for this little bit amount of time, but maybe we are better for in lower ground or mid ground, something like that. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I mean, they did perform well, but maybe they could have lasted a little bit longer if they held maybe mid or low ground.
But even the fact, like some of these games where Queasy and Vino, of course, they weren't actually in that game, but when Queasy and Vino aren't in, some of these teams kind of struggle to hold it, which just pays homage to how good Queasy and Vino actually are holding it.
Oh, yeah.
Man, oh man, talent across the board. Unlike any other, I hold my head low because I know this is it. The last game of the day.
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
The runs of some of these duels will be ended right here, right now, with a single game left to go. What are expectations?
Everybody's got to put all the stops right. If your duo goes down, and make sure you find one of those synonymous solo clutches that we see from FNCS, MNCS, and make your mark right here, right now.
I know, I'm excited. So again, like some of those teams have using the Falcon Scout, changing it up, doing some different things. I like that because it is working out for them. And I want to see some more things like that.
That's right. This is it. One last ride in EU from week number 3. We're going to see the action come to a halt as no one wants to be the first duo out. How is this all going to go? Let's buckle up and find out.
3 long weeks of qualifiers had led to this moment here in EU. Game number 6, the last chance.
Yep, the last chance some teams have for that direct ticket to finals, and for others, it's a last chance to even continue their journey in FNCS Major 1 by playing through Surge Week. Some teams need at least a top 25 finish on the day, and guess what? They're outside of that bubble as it currently stands.
It doesn't get better than this. This is what we all are here for. The intense, dramatic final finishes. And we know it all starts with off-spawn battles in which some teams are going to have to say goodbye for the very last time in this major. But the question is, who will it be? When it comes to Lonely Labs, Kyrie and Ping have been the team that has often been successful here. But they do have a threat on their hands. Of course, in this fight, we're going to see Hellfire and Resguard have to put on their best, and their best is going to be big shotgun shots connecting to the dome.
Huge way to start off the game. Essentially a 50-50, not slowing down there. Goes back-to-back. Panzer shares that same fate as his teammate Hellfire and Resguard, off to a huge start. Start off this one, Azar and Zangi against Clone and Jarko. You can already see just splitting right now, looting up. That Falcon Scout's going to play a huge role in a moment like this because they can easily try to scan, spot some players out who are trying to be sneaky, but Zara's letting his position be known, going ahead and firing off with the tactical pistol to try to get those players low.
Dearie me. Clone has found himself in a world of trouble now because Zangi and Zara, they're not going to let this one go. They're going to aggress until the job is complete. So that leaves Jarko in a very tough spot where he has to make the play of his season right now, maybe even the play of his career.
He's already in a decent placement right now when it comes to the leaderboard. Pressure right now from this moment. Just building up with each passing second. As Jarko trying to make a quick run for it, and he does not make it happen. He goes down. Zara and Zangi stay alive and continue their journey in the FNCS Major 1.
And to add insult to injury, a celebration to top it all off. You can see the shots that just connected and made things so awkward where Clone went down. Well, I'm sure they won't be complaining about that by any means.
Nope, not at all. Making sure to think angles first, make sure to kind of dwindle down the options of their opponent, not really give them much to work with. Is Donde and Mag just trying to do that same thing, going up, over, trying to farm up as much resources, trying to get as much of the ammo as possible. Peeks through the window, lands a nice shot on a Mixon, draining the shields just like that. Donde doesn't have much himself, so you have to pick and choose when you're going to peek, when you're going to battle. They waste no time getting their shields and health right back on up. Big pot's going to be popped, and you can see Krusty in the distance, ready to third party. A couple players from Frenzy as well. And you got to think T'Challa and Arc directly below them on the south side. And they probably know that landing in there. They said, nah, not me. I don't want any part of this. I want to continue on in our final game.
Yeah, and you can see Seti in the distance, looking to capitalize on their weaknesses as he takes some shots from afar. Mag, he actually wants to just get in and fight right now. He doesn't want to be patient about this by any means. And that might actually cost him, because you're seeing how much HP he's having to tank from different sides. That heavy shotgun from range, mid-range there to pick up Mixon.
Said he's going to clean that one up, even though he doesn't get the elimination. It's early game surge. A huge part of their success here on the day, or Fortnite in general, is Albion Ludwig trying to have a bounce-back moment. May not have the best 5 games, but better late than never. He quickly defends himself. Great wall placement there, and able to quickly build onto that height that he already achieved before. Big bush bomb going down from their opponents on the low ground, trying to cloud out and hide their actual positions, making them really second guess so they can continue on peeking through this fight. Ludwig has an additional angle. He's not slowing down just yet. Albie's backing off just to farm up enough mats and resources to work with. You can really see him thinking outside of the box. The gas can looking like it's going to be used. They're trying to break through and take control of the pieces without them expecting it.
Yeah, look, Albie led all players in damage and eliminations last week, so this isn't a player you want to take lightly in a fight by any means. Give him the time, give him the space, and he'll make something happen. The gas canist's going to really start to cause more issues. I thought it was going to cause more issues than that, but nevertheless, he has gotten the cone, and so we'll start to rain in from above. And that's going to catch them out. They're not expecting a 145 now, an even bigger shot being hit. You've got to think it's only a matter of time now until this one is fully locked up.
Gotta imagine they ran out of resources to continue to defend themselves. They didn't build a roof or a cone. That's where Albie and Ludwig were able to really take advantage. Trying to shockwave hammer to safety, but Ludwig and Albie doesn't want to let this elimination escape their hands, especially knowing that he does have a shockwave hammer. And they're going to find it. Give themselves a little bit more of a reward to work with, that shockwave hammer, and a way to rotate through the rest of this game.
What do we have here, though? Looks like Levino's in a fight. Queasy and Vino picking up one. That's a user, a big shot there being applied in. It looks like Vino wanted to get it all done again and connect to him with that final shot. Queasy was putting in some work, so a nice start to the game for this duo. Again, started off today so hot, and of course they've picked up 2 victory royales today, so not too shabby of a performance. I would like to see them finish higher up though, but they do have a distance to catch up with Vanyak and Kami and Seti and Cammy.
But at least they have a chance. That's going to be the biggest thing that they're trying to hold on to. And for Mustache and Tayson, it's about proving they can have a bounce-back moment in a set lobby like this. They have a little bit of high ground that they're trying to toy with that slow-mo and Tuna on the other side. Tayson wastes no time with the shockwave, trying to get into the box. Mustache is slow behind, but it's not going to be too big of a factor as they continue to find ways to reunite. But Tayson goes down. Just a few seconds of separation. Mustache trying to shockwave hammer up and over, but unable to really get the splash off in time. So it's he who's now solo by himself with his back up against the wall. They're trying to get into the box. Feet control going over. Options being dwindled down by Mustache. Tayson's finally going to be picked up. Huge amount of resources going on over to Tuna as they continue to chase down Mustache. Wall for wall, shot for shot. They're not wanting to let him escape, but Mustache, really quick, able to escape each and every attempt so far. But sometimes there's only so much one man can do. He finally goes down. Shockwave hammer going on over to Tuna and slow-mo.
Hey, look, the end of the road for Tayson and Mustache. They will be in the FNCS final though, so if they're a team you enjoy watching, you don't have to worry. We'll see them in a couple weeks' time. And as much as today wasn't their best day, and as much as we've not seen their best consistently this season, I wouldn't be too worried about them heading into the finals. They have 2 weeks to prepare. I know they've been putting in a lot of extra work as well to work out some of the kinks in their play. But for the teams who still have to try and make things happen in this lobby, big opportunity here. Kami and Vanyak, who their lead has been closed. At one point in this competition, they had a 60-point lead, right? So to think that now there's only 4 points separating them and second place is a testament to how impressive the rest of the lobby's been in catching up.
That's what makes moments like this that more important. They could have easily tried to stay. They could have easily tried to fight. You know how aggressive these two players can be. But they're going to choose to play for the long haul, the longer game, the big picture. Try to disengage, get on out as Malabuka and Thomas are taking multiple angles. Thomas is going to take a lot of the pressure and the focus, and that's going to allow Malabuka to land a cheeky shot. 50 shield right off Clown, using the Shockwave Hammer to steal away the high ground at a moment's notice. Even getting the cone into the box to deny entry once again. Separating Frey from his teammate as Malabuka gets knocked down. That was a blessing in disguise as he continues to try to Shockwave through. Doesn't get the reset, but not taking too much damage, so no worries just yet. Him and Thomas have a little bit of separation, a trade for trade. Him and Frey getting knocked down low, and that's going to force a disengage coming out from Malabuka, but the third party coming in, he needs help right now from Thomas. They need to be able to reunite in a situation like this.
Yeah, I was going to say at first that Frey and Clown probably don't want to take this kind of a fight, especially against this opposition, but they've made a really good job of shutting out Thomas and Malabuka, not making things easy for them, and of course that third party and Kyrie and Pings just making things even more awkward. And so all of a sudden here, Frey and Clown, they might live to see another day. They might just scurry on out here. And again, they do need to have a big hit game here in the last one. They need as many serious points as they can get.
I like Kyrie and Ping just uncontested towards Lonely, where you're not going to get a lot of surge. Just firing down a couple of shots, landing a couple tags, and immediately keeping it moving. As Scram and Trippin answer the call, needing a big day. They've done just that, securing their spot. Hopefully they don't fall too far from where they're at, because things have slowed down, but with the final game upon us, what a better way to really rise and kind of let this be the last showing anybody's going to remember before Surge Week, before Grands.
Yeah, of course, right? Even if you are a team that knows your spot is guaranteed in the finals, you want to use this as the best practice you're probably going to get in the next couple of weeks leading up to that moment. The revive here is going to play right into the hands of Janice and Reason as Drew gets taken out. And Lord Beerus isn't really going to be able to do much to stop it. Fortunately here for Drew, it looks like there's a high chance that his tournament is done.
I like this thinking. They, instead of just pushing the reboot, not letting him get it off, they allow it to kind of go through all together. That's 4 more points for them. And the continuous 2v1 situation as Beer's trying to get out. Shockwave Hammer combined with the Aerialist, trying to find a moment for stability. Continues the Shockwave out, but that double-edged sword, he's taking damage while finding his escape. 35 white HP, and that was going to be the last shot. He goes down altogether. And Janice and Reason have found themselves a Shockwave Hammer.
And a chance in this game again to remind us of why we've been so impressed with them. Speaking of impressive, Seti and Cammy, what a story that would be for them to close out today in first place. Of course, I think the whole season we've all been waiting to see them reach the level of their invitational win. But nevertheless, even if it took 3 weeks of qualifiers and a couple Elite Cups to get here, we are at a crossroads in which they have the chance to finish a tournament in first place. What a time to do it would be as well. It's that last reminder before we head into the Surge Week in the finals. Hey, we are still here. You do still have to worry about us.
What a great time to catch fire for anybody realistically. Includes Perchow and Joker. Hell's Fire and Refsguard, who we've seen game after game, battle tooth and nail. So many teams really have an opportunity to rise to the top of the ranks, build some confidence, solidify a nice game plan, and realize how a lot of players are going to play in a set lobby like this, because it is a little bit of a different beast going for the 2 weeks to make it here into the third and final session, and then this set lobby where you have only the best of the best going at it.
Easy and Vino.
Wow. They've never been lower than 10th on the leaderboard since game 1 of week 1.
That tells you everything you need to know about this duo, right? And who they are to this lobby, who they are to EU, who they are to the world of Fortnite. If you want to improve in your game, this is the team to watch. The funny thing here is I think many people will be wondering how much do they really have in this game? How much of a stake do they have? Because for a while now, their spot in the FNCS final has been guaranteed. So we'll see whether or not they're going to be an annoyance to everybody else in the lobby who is trying their hardest to squeeze out some extra series points, because the better these guys do, the more those points just get pushed down in terms of distribution beneath everyone. Snazy and Anderlecht, they have a position here where they're going to look to hold Zangi and Zara in the zone. Tuna and Slowmo in a similar spot to do so as well.
Just thinking to myself, speaking about annoyances, imagine trying to fight just to get into the zone. And you have 4 different players taking shots at you. Not wanting to let that one come a possibility, but for Tuna and Slowmo, they don't want to get caught in that same position, so they're trying to rotate a little bit quicker than you'd think, saving the charges onto the Shockwave Hammer until they need them most. They could probably use the Mountain, try to shield themselves for one of those teams that's high in the sky, trying to put down as much damage on the lobby. See Slowbay and Artie into the distance, trying to get themselves closer and closer to the zone. But Pachawa and Joker are going to try to gatekeep anybody out. But they, too, still need to find their own rotation in. But they have the height of the mountain to go ahead and gather that information as they make their journey on over.
Of course, the good thing about their journey is that there are players you can see down beneath them at the foot of this hill that are trying to rotate in. And so plenty of opportunities to hold teams and milk them to surge. Vanyak and Kami sitting rather central in the zone, and so not looking too bad in terms of the general positioning, but being just 1 damage point above that threshold. And now it's updated beneath that threshold. It will call for them to start hitting shots, but again, in this final lobby, players playing a bit more conservatively. Nobody wanting to over-peak or overextend as they try their best to stay alive in this game.
And the only thing about their position right now is that side of the zone isn't going to force and push too many players in. It's not going to be as stacked as the top side. So the opportunities are necessarily going to be there. The Slowmo and Tuna don't need that same opportunity. At one point or another, over 200 above, but slowly falling down. But they built themselves that cushion so they can go ahead and take all the time that they need in order to rotate in. As Vanyak looking like he's trying to make a sneaky play. Donde and Mag might not see this one coming. And oh man, this is going to be a nightmare if he's able to pull this one off. 22 below. Vanyak needs this, and he doesn't see it coming. That was a perfect shot. Over 100. He gets the knock. Huge sneaky plays from Vanyak. Not only does it keep him alive, but keeps him in the game and a chance to take first. But down goes Karmi. He gets tagged up, over peak and trying to go for Surge on his own. And there goes Kyrie trying to go ahead and build up. He's a solo. You don't see Vico anywhere nearby, and he gets tagged up. Vanyak trying to be the hero to save the day. Jumps right into the box in the nick of time. Kylie goes down. Vico wasn't there to save the day. They were too separated trying to make some plays.
That is so unfortunate that Kami goes down, because that initial play from Vanyak was sensational. And unfortunately for him, his teammate just got caught out. And so now he's doomed to play this game as a solo, but if he can hit a couple shots and put on his best Vanyak impression in terms of a big clutch. Nah. The door's not completely closed. Good to see Vino and Queasy still in this one, of course. A decent distance they've had to travel.
4 eliminations. You can see them trying to stabilize themselves after what looks like a hard-fought battle. Wow, Vino almost gets surprised right there. Ends up behind him, but still lands the shots that matter.
Well, again, this is the fear, right? If they're in this lobby and they're thinking, look, let's just W key, let's just go all out, try and get as many eliminations as possible. That's all fun and games for them. For the teams on the receiving end of that, you know, that becomes so much more difficult in terms of trying to have any sort of stability, trying to sort of have any sort of hope of getting more series points, right? And so these guys really are the lobby bosses right now. And I expect to see them continue to W key as long as we are in this one. Janice, though, he doesn't have that same luxury because his teammate Reason is down. And they still want to try to get as many series points as possible, so he'll still hope to push himself up in the standings a bit. There's room for that.
And we're really talking about so many teams, including Tripper and Scram, that needed a big day. I saw into the distance Trulex and Chicho. They're fighting just to go to Surge Week, let alone trying to get into the grand final. Scram is just 1 damage below the threshold. Not too much of a worry. They're not going to be frantically bobbing and weaving in and out of these covers to try to find it. They know it's just only a matter of time. It's probably around the corner, peeking through. They hear a fight on the other side of the wall, taking control of that one, and that's Trulex and Chicho right above, ready to strike at a moment's notice. And I like how they just really stopped in their tracks. I don't know if they heard or just maybe something that they felt, that danger looming around the corner.
Speaking of danger, it seems like their W keying hasn't really got them far because right now Queasy's down and it looks like Vino's going to follow very shortly. Of course, the Shadow Bomb will allow him to stay in this one just for a couple more moments, but you've got to think at some point now he's going to fall with just 14 HP. I don't know how he's even still alive right now. That's some Vino magic. How long is that magic going to last? The bush. We're doing wonders in terms of a bit of extra cover and protection. With so many people now getting lobby focused, getting lobby sprayed. How long can Vino survive? Not much longer. Flodax is the one to get the finishing blow. That's good news for everybody else in the lobby.
I was just thinking to myself, that was a huge find with the big bush bomb. You saw him start to regenerate some of the health thanks to the bush warrior. Unfortunately, everybody else saw that big find. We're not trying to let him get away with a miracle. That's not a player you want to let survive at any moment in the game. If you have a chance to kind of send him back to the lobby, as Snazy and Adalix 1,000 above the damage threshold, they're just trying to make that clean rotation in. They don't have much mobility to work with, so timing is of the essence.
Yeah, they have to be very precise, very deliberate about this rotation because there's so many players just running their way on in. Of course, we're seeing now the Shadow Bombs become a bit more prevalent as Chicho makes his way on in. He finds a spot in the zone that isn't too bad. The problem is here is when it comes to materials, he doesn't have much to work with at all. This isn't a solid box by any means. If the wrong person spots him out, he might meet his end, might meet his demise. Gross currently sitting in a bush all the way up above here. And he's not looking too shabby by any means.
Really looking calm, cool, collected. Doesn't look too frantic or antsy either. Communicating everything that he sees on over to Fire Hunter. Probably one of the higher teams in the sky right now. Can they hold on to it is going to be the key and question we asked with only 56 builds. It's definitely going to be a testament to their game plan overall. Scram trying to peek it through the cone, spotting where the zone's going. You can see the mark coming out. They know this is going up and over the mountain. So that information is crucial for everybody to gather before the zone begins to move.
Yeah, this is the last chance to make a first movement rotation, so you got to make it count. You got to plan it out well. For these guys here on our screens, Rox and Robot, they have a hammer, and so that makes things just that bit easier for them in making that. The key is to land on safe ground, and with hammers in the game, there's never really safe ground. Fortunately for them, though, they're here on the side of the hill, and they look to try to get up and over. Tanking a bit of the storm hit to get in, but that isn't too bad. They're maybe even going to find something along the way. Robot, though, staying a bit more composed. Not as hungry, but that might just be his demise, because Ludwig and Albi, they're now on the chase, and Wox has to do things solo.
He got caught slipping, tunnel vision too hard. Doesn't watch his backside as Wox now stuck as a solo, but plenty of splashes to work with. But the Kings on the high ground have overtaken Seti and Cammy, trying to go back-to-back to close the day. Could be a huge opportunity for them to do just that.
Look, they're trying to get another one. They're not just satisfied with second place. They want it all. They want first place. And they're going to play height as well to do it. We talked about their dynamism. They're showing us that right now. Comfortable on any layer you give them. Vanyak, though, it's his job to stop them from being able to take his position in first. And if he is to do that without his duo with him, he has to put on one of his classic solo clutches. Even just staying alive for as long as possible would do him wonders. And with just being down to wood, it's going to come down to what he can do with his shotgun in hand.
Basically, Vanyak versus Seti and Cammy for first place. Here late in the game, I could break it down. You see so many teams trying to use shockwave hammers to get to the top side of zone. For Vanyak, power to you. He doesn't have a shockwave hammer, but he has 9 splashes to stagger himself out and try to mantle himself to the front side. Working his way through. Belusi doing the same. Grols and Fire Hunter stuck on the backside. Fire Hunter is lost, but Grols is able to find one on a coupe. Vanyak stay alive. He makes magic happen yet again, and he found the Shockwave Hammer, Levin.
This is a solo, but he has the power of 2 players right now. Big shots being connected in a Shockwave Hammer that he should be able to use to get back into the zone when the time comes. It's going to be close, but he should get there. Cammy and Say they're still chilling up above, and he will go right back down beneath this hill. He's playing this so well. He's absolutely on fire right now.
He's asking everybody right now, do you believe in magic? Because I got a trick up my sleeve. 4 eliminations so far. The 2-horse race between Seti and Cammy, and that solo is Tripper and Scram getting smushed down low as farther as they could possibly go. Vaniac's on the other side of that cover. They have no builds, so you know they're going to try to go for a refresh. And this is going to be a make-or-break moment.
Vanyak, he needs to do it. He's shown us plenty of tricks, but where is the prestige? Does he have it? Tries to hit a big shot. No. Eventually will fall, and that opens the door for Seti and Cammy to roll through. Trippin and Scram, though, a big find for them. That keeps them in this game.
Huge opportunity for Albie and Ludwig as well, making up for lost time. 7 splashes. They have so much in their inventory, so many resources, but with Zone continuously to pull back, that allows Seti and Cammy to recycle a lot of the builds. Wax lost Robot long before, and this is his chance, trying to bandage up, get everything that he can, looks down below, spots that team, trying to play passive. Only 4 builds to his name. He's trying to optimize everything that he has in his inventory.
Wax just dancing around here. Wants to try and conserve his builds where possible for an emergency, but this may just be an emergency as he drops down. A cheeky little shot into Scram, but Scram's not going to be too happy about that. They're going to make him pay. They're going to punish him, but they need to be careful themselves as he's pulling up the hill. And so they need to now try and dance around, use their builds that they have. It's not pulling in their favor. Trippin will be able to get up because he has a Shockwave Hammer and Scram as well, but they need to do things swiftly. They need to do things quickly.
Oh, the side of the mountain, those builds is going to save Scram, but down goes Tripper. It's now him as a solo. Into the top 4 we go. This is going to be a momentous effort for Scram to try to stay alive. He has the men miss. He has the splash, just waiting for the Shockwave charge to go ahead and regain, so that way he can use it to get to the front side of Zone. But Seti and Cammy, the pressure for Zone after Zone, holding onto that high ground, really just putting so much destruction down below.
Oh my goodness, you can see down below, Moneymaker and Brant, they get back together. They are one of the few duos remaining in this one. And so it's going to be up to them to really determine how things play out. For Seti and Cammy, they've not had much of an opportunity to even get a limbs with the way the zone's been pulling back and forth over and under hills. It's meant that most of the lobby's been hidden to them, but now they can finally see their eyes are wide open, and they will have their eyes on the players below, the likes of Scram, who fall into the traps of Moneymaker and Brant. They're going to take him out, walking right into their sights, and Geras now, he's going to try to cause some issues for them, but he seems like he's probably going to have the same exact fate as the Dane did, because he is going to go down as well. And so now Seti and Cammy, Seti actually dropping all the way down into the mix. He wants to end things now. He doesn't want to wait. He just wants his second victory out of the day.
He wants to take it by force. He doesn't want to let just him live towards the low ground. He wants to dominate the rest of the game through and through. He's going to land that perfect shot. 119. Cammy's there, falling into the fray. Down goes Seti, though. 1v1 situation. Cammy trying to hold on to the high ground, play for the heal off. This is a perfect moment for him to try to finish it off. The splash is going down low. Does Brant have enough to make it back into the game? He has the Shockwave Hammer. Only 2 splashes left. Will he make it happen, Levin?
He's going to run out of gas. There's not much he can do unless he hits a shot now, and Cammy knows it. He just needs to hide, but he's been spotted out. He needs to hammer his way. Will he actually survive? He will. Another 1v1 that Cammy wins to win the game. That's 2 now in a row. Cammy and Seti are insane.
Catching fire at the perfect moment. Games 5, Game 6, the last thing mostly anybody will remember right before Surge Week. And that's got to be a huge boost of confidence for them, realizing, hey, doesn't matter what happened earlier on in the season, we're here and we're now.
And you've got to think it's pretty safe to say that that is going to solidify first place here in Qualifier 3 for this duo. A duo that maybe, just maybe, took a bit too long to reach this level, but boy, am I glad they are finally showing us what they can do, what they are capable of. I always call it the Polish plow rolling through the rest of the lobby.
Hey, they might have gotten first. We knew that the moment Vanyak went down, but they already had their spot in Grands. There's so much more everybody's fighting for. A shot at Grands and a shot at Surge Week. Zeke, let us know who made it through.
Thank you so much, Jacob, PR112K, for an amazing 6 games here in EU for Seti and Cammy. This goes beyond just coming in first place this week. They don't have eyes on Surge Week. They don't have eyes on Grand Finals. They have eyes on a global championship. You can tell this duo has one thing in mind. We want to win Major 1 because we want that guaranteed spot. Take a look. They overtake Vanyak, Carmi. They said, not today. We appreciate your effort. Very valiant, but we are the ones that will sit at the top.
I mean, listen, if you want me to just break it down for you right now, I'll tell you everything that Seti and Cammy are good at, right? Here's the checklist. Everything, actually.
Literally.
Go ahead. There it is. They're good at everything.
Honestly, I was like, where you go with that? You're going to have to do a long list there. But like I was just saying, even previously, like they can't do it all. And they just, they're showing off. Are they not? They're showing off. They're like, one's not enough. Let's get two. And I love it because they are just so smart, tactical with their plays too. And even the knowledge they have behind the timing of the storm, everything. He's like, I have to hammer away at the end. And like, I love this duo so much.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, the highlight kind of goes to Cammy right there because he does end up winning the 1v1. I mean, shout out to him, right? The amount of different items that he's carried throughout the day, it's very unconventional what we saw in the first weeks. He's got the berries in the end game, making full use out of them. But then Seti right here is the one actually putting in the work. I mean, 113 right there. Quickly turns around, hits the 106, finds the knock to make sure that he can trust Cammy right there in the 1v1. I mean, like I said, I'll say it again. They can do it all.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. We just pointed out last time that they were using the Falcon Scout. Now they're holding so many different types of resources. They're utilizing everything, and it's awesome to see that no matter what they're holding, they're going to use it for their advantage, and it's working out for them, for sure.
That's right. Tripperin and Scram currently sitting in 4th place, up 5 placements here in the final game of the day in EU. And we talked about these guys at the beginning of the show, and we've been talking about them because their duo were falling, right? They had to perform well today if they wanted to go to Grands. And here we are, sitting in top 5.
Yeah, 100%. Getting into the end game here, kind of finding themselves squished on the low ground, but making the most out of it, kind of just bringing everybody to them. Always just very, very quick on their feet, even ending it off with like a very good solo cuts at the end of this, man. Just a very clean game. You can see the aim's there as well.
Yeah, they got that teammate down, and they were able to use the hammers to get up. It almost didn't happen for them. This was so cool to watch because I was like, oh, he's not going to make it. There's no way. And then he makes it because both of their teammates, they both have a hammer, which is awesome for them in this situation. But the fact that he was able to get up and stay in long enough, placement, everything was just going well for him, especially the solo, until there at the end. But again, still placement great. He played it very well. I'm very impressed.
I mean, Zeke, listen, Vanyak was also a solo and an end game. We saw it was around like that half and half fourth zone where they kind of went for a sneaky play in Vanyak. It worked out so well, but unfortunately, Carmi went down and Vanyak was just left to do it throughout the rest of the game, made it into the end game, and almost, right, like only 20 points behind Cammy and Seti because they did have that lead, ended up losing it, but still a heck of a performance from him.
Yeah, and we did just highlight a duo a moment ago, Tripperin and Scram. We spoke to Scram at the beginning of the show. Why don't we hear from Tripperin? That's right. What's going on, man? It's so good to see you. How you feeling after the day?
I feel pretty decent. We didn't play like how we wanted, but in spite of being conned in 3 games, it was still fine. So I'm pretty happy.
I mean, I feel like you played pretty well. I mean, what is those things that you guys are hoping to improve by the time Grands rolls around?
We were struggling a bit with Surge today. Like I think like 1, 2, 3 games, and I know we just didn't like play it like 100% like how we wanted to. So yeah, that's just what we're gonna try to fix, and then just try to keep on improving, and yeah.
So you've skipped Surge Week. You're chilling right now, but I know that you guys are not going to be really chilling. I know that you're going to put in work. Is there anything specifically you're going to focus on going into next week?
I think we're just gonna watch review a lot, and then just fix some mistakes, and then just pray for the best. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, hey man, Storm Surge is difficult, but anytime you guys make it into the end game, I saw in that last game right there, big focus on the low ground. Kind of what's the ideal position looking like for you guys? You guys want to focus on high, mid, low ground? What does it look like?
Yeah, we tend to play low a lot because we just frag out there, and it's pretty easy to play for us, I would say.
We've seen you do that. Yeah, we've seen you do that. And you do it very well, so absolutely.
Thank you.
Trippin', so now you know, okay, we're going into Grands, and let's, this lobby was pretty tough. But Grands is a whole other difficulty, right? It's that final difficulty, that final boss. How does that change your guys' mindset going into the 2-day format, and of course, looking around the lobby and thinking you guys are all just as good as we are?
I feel like it doesn't really change anything. We're just gonna keep on playing the same, and yeah, nothing really changes.
Do what you practice, and you do it well. We had talked about that.
Just play it like it's a scrim game. That's So we're gonna play.
I love that.
There's not even tournaments for them anymore, right? Like,
Yeah.
all these are scrim games.
Yeah, if you think
there's a lot of scrim games.
If you think that way, you put too much pressure on yourself. If you just think about it in that mindset, you just play like you know. So it's perfect.
When you're as good as Tripperin, you know, that's all. Everything is a scrim game to me. No big
you
deal.
know me, you know me.
Well, Tripperin, thank you so much for your time. Where can the audience find you? Because I know they're all looking at you and they're thinking, I got to become this guy's fan.
The people can find me Trippon on Twitter, Man City Trippon on Twitter, and Trippon on Twitch, and Trippon on Instagram. And yeah, that's it.
Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate you guys for both stopping by. And of course, we'll see you in grand finals. My, oh my, so many incredible duos. So much to look forward to. When is it all happening? Let's take a look at the broadcast schedule. So that's it for this week as far as EU and NA is concerned. But remember, next week, Surge Week. That's going to basically amp everything up, okay? If you want to watch high-octane, intense Fortnite action where only the Victory Royale matters, and then the top 5 will also go straight to grand finals, make sure you come back then. And of course, grand finals, March 4th and 5th. That is the conclusion of Major Number 1, an Axe of Champions, prize money, and a guaranteed spot to global championships later on this year. Now, as we get ready to say goodbye, I hate this part so much. Final thoughts before we say goodbye. Don't. I'm gonna cry.
I am just so excited that we have more Fortnite on the way. It's not the end. Don't be sad, Zeke. There's still more, and to be honest, even better Fortnite on the line.
I'm just excited that everybody now knows that I'm certified 6 foot.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yep.
By the way, if you're 6 foot, then like I'm looking like 6'2", right? 6'2".
See, he knows.
Hey, good day for me too, then, right?
Okay, I'm gonna have to update my driver's license now too, because apparently if you are, then I definitely am.
Oh my gosh. What do you guys have as far as expectations going into Surge Week? It's basically like a reboot round if you've ever watched one of those, and I enjoy myself in Victory Royale.
Look, next week for Surge Week, game number 2, my boys Pink and Nebs, they're gonna win it.
Wow.
Mark this down. Game number 2 specifically. Game number 2.
The 11 guarantee.
That is the 11 2K guarantee that they're going to win the game.
Clip it right there.
Clip it.
What do you think?
I'm just excited because we've seen so much chaos and madness throughout the 3 weeks, right? And we've seen the changes when Vino and Queez are not in the lobby. Guess what? They're not in Surge Week. We're going to have 5 of the craziest games on EU with teams from all around trying to take height and take the game to advance to finals.
Love the fact that you're kind of mentioning some of these teams are going to be in Surge Week, out of Surge Week. A big name team that's going to be in Surge Week, unfortunately, after the performance today, Noah, Riley, and Vadil. So that's what I'm excited to watch. I don't know about you, Levin.
No, for sure. They're a team that we know can have explosive games, and there's no better time than Surge Week to do it.
I think being in Surge Week kind of is like a highlight time for them too, because now they might be like the best ones in the lobby. They were on the cusp, they were there. They have some of the teams that maybe weren't performing as well, so maybe this will be their time to shine, and maybe they'll get multiple victories. That would be awesome.
Yeah, well, hey, you heard it here. I hate to say this part, but it's okay. Hey, don't worry. We'll be back next weekend. You'll also see some brand new faces that'll be joining us here for the broadcast. So we look forward till that time. Until then, have an amazing week. We love you, and we'll see you on that battle bus. Beep, beep.